Hello, my
Hello?
friend. Oh my God.
What's up?
It's you, the legend.
It's me. It's me.
Dude,
Are we sharing cameras on this or what?
I
How
will
does this work?
share everything with you, including my
All right.
camera.
That's what I want.
All right. That is what you shall receive. It is a huge honor to talk to you, man.
Oh, thank you.
I know you're like
Thanks.
you're probably like, what the fuck is this call? But by the end of it, it will be worth it.
Hold on one
Because,
second.
yeah, of course. Let's switch. All right. I'm
It
gonna put you on OBS.
it takes me 1 second to set up OBS correctly, so bear
OBS.
with me.
All right. Yeah. Let's.
Why is that not what you're supposed to use as a streamer?
The Zoomers call it OBS Artosis. We have to be like them.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I'm just fucking around. You're the first person I think I've heard call it OBS.
Oh,
But-
damn.
but I'm
well,
chill with it.
I'm kind of known for not fucking pronouncing anything correctly, so.
Let's see here. Discord. Yeah, I also need to figure out how technology works. Because I'm on the wrong monitor now. I have this like I was like playing Smash for a while, and I have this monitor that just like always turns off. I thought it'd be a cool idea because it has like a low refresh rate, but instead it just turns off and resets my monitor settings. So like 1, 2, 3 change constantly.
Oh damn! Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's so annoying.
Yeah.
That's
It's like
okay. One second.
life
Let me make my
ending.
tweet.
All right, I got you. Oh, you're making a tweet? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Let's go.
you got to do it.
Yeah.
That's how you get people come watch, isn't it?
So we're already on the brand stuff, dude. I actually I probably should use Twitter more. So we did like a really big study on this, and by really big I mean like we looked into it and like kind of cranked some data, and then it wasn't really that big of a study, but found out that if you post a tweet and then at the very end of your stream you delete that tweet, you get the highest amount of engagement on that tweet, and you don't mess up your timeline.
How does deleting it at the end give you more engagement?
It will not give you more engagement, but it will imagine it as an aggregate, because people don't like, so people that go onto your Twitter, they want to see whatever is happening in the moment. So if somebody comes over in, and because of the way that Twitter does their aggregation of like, you know, this happened 4 hours ago, like you click it, then like Artosis is gone. You're like, what the fuck? And like,
Yeah.
right. But if you delete it, they come back. So basically it just adds like to the long-term equity of your Twitter.
Damn, that is actually great.
Yeah.
I learn stuff every time I listen to you. I listen to a lot of your videos, and that's actually, I'd never even thought of that, but I've actually been annoyed by my own Twitter lately. The more content I make, I'm like, okay, I'm getting fucking annoying on Twitter.
Yes.
So I stopped tweeting out my YouTube videos a few days ago because I'm like, I can't. It's ruining it. It's ruining it. It's like, normally I have this very on point kind of cool Twitter account, and then I've been just making it garbage by just advertising the stuff I'm doing, and it's like you can't do that all the time. It's like it just becomes worse and worse.
This is something that I think if you like, so if you do YouTube, so if you do YouTube videos and you like write a story for them, like there's a huge difference between a tweet that's like, watch my YouTube video, and like, hey, this is the coolest Protoss versus Zerg I've ever seen. You guys have to check this out, right? That tweet, I think, has like a lot higher equity than like something. And it's like if you are going to post YouTube, but it's hard because you want like gems on your YouTube. So I think there's like a ratio. The ratio is like 3 or 4 to 1, or maybe higher if you can. Higher is better, right?
Yeah, that's an important thing in casting as well, where it's like not everything can be exciting. If everything's exciting, nothing's exciting. You have to have ups and downs. There have to be bad games. There have to be videos of lower quality, that type of thing.
Interesting. This is one of the things that like so you don't know it. We met at BlizzCon 2015. And I was like,
sorry, I don't remember.
I know. This is like one of those typical, like another one of the peasants. Oh, I guess, of course, nice to meet you. And I was like, oh my god, I told you something. And like, I was like a volunteer. It was like 2015, beginning of 2015. I was like I was like just coming into Dignitas,
Mm.
and Odie got me backstage with you, Nick, and Sean
Oh, nice.
because I wouldn't stop bothering him until he did. And then
That's
like
cool.
you guys are all sitting there in like your fucking business suits. You're geared up. And for me, that was like really iconic because I have watched the GSL for years. I've watched you cast for years, and you have been an enormous inspiration on my path in esports. And I've spent many long hours talking to Riot Games about your casting style and how I wish that they were like you, because I was very involved in the LCS.
Yeah.
And the way you cast is so cool, man. I mean, I like maybe that's like well, I guess we should just like start with like the basics, like you know, like how
Whatever
did
you want to do.
how did you get into this? How did you get into this?
Oh, into casting?
Yeah, into esports.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
you're
into
like
esports.
the OG.
Yeah.
Do you even remember?
Okay. Yeah, no, I do remember very well. So I got into esports. Like I was always competitive and trying to compete in things. I actually played basketball
Okay.
as a kid. And then I was like jumping on a trampoline with my friends and I broke my ankle really badly.
Oh shit.
Like really badly right before high school started. It was like maybe it was a week into my freshman year of high school or something like that, like before the basketball tryouts and like everything. And so I broke my ankle so badly, I think I didn't walk on it for like a year. So I basically had all this competitive urge that I just didn't know how to get rid of. And I had StarCraft and I had played it a few times. So I started playing it some more. And I started looking online for, you know, like what was going on within it because I realized it was somewhat competitive. And then I found, and this was like, I think 1999.
Wow. Holy shit. I was playing like EverQuest 1. Oh my God.
My brother was too.
Yeah.
So when I had the computer though, I was playing StarCraft. And so I found the battle reports, the written reports, because there was no replays, no videos or anything.
I remember these.
Back then.
Yeah.
I was on my 14.4 modem and I was yeah, I played StarCraft on a 14.4 on Battle.net. It's crazy.
It's amazing that's even possible.
I know. I'm sure it was laggy. It's like back then I thought it was amazing, so I probably didn't notice. But
yeah, you would think that like input commands even or something would be. I wouldn't even think. I don't even remember because I also played Blue War and I don't even remember it. Yeah.
No, I have no recollection of what that was like. But I found the battle reports of like the Blizzard ladder championship or whatever, the big tournament where the Canadian pro gamer Gur ended up winning it.
Okay.
And I remember I would come home each day from school limping home on my crutches and spam refresh and just be like, oh yeah, there's a new game up that they reported on. Oh my God, these guys are so great. And I decided right then, I was like, this is the coolest thing that like everyone's reading this and then going on Battle.net and talking, be like, did you read like what Gur did? That strategy, that was crazy. And I was like, I need to do that. I need to be a guy that people talk about when they're talking about who's good at this video game. So that's how I got into it. Like the very beginning, how I figured out about esports.
Wow. Okay. And I remember Sean's story of casting was something like nobody was doing it. He just walked up and started doing it. Is that like how you?
That's Nick. That's Nick that did that.
Oh, it was Nick that did it? Okay. Yeah.
So Tasteless. Yeah. That's like that's when his actual.
I feel like I heard a similar story from Sean. I don't know how. Maybe he got started later.
Yeah. Sean started a little bit later because
so you
like,
guys
way
are like
back
the
then.
OGs, like the Oogs.
I think I met both Sean and Nick, Tasteless and Day9, on Battle.net probably in 2003, I want to say, is when we started running into each other some.
Okay, but that's 4 years after you started playing StarCraft.
Yeah, no, I was.
Yeah, something like that. And I think that they played way back then too, but you know, people were divided a lot back then.
There's like chat rooms and like guilds and shit and like the old clan chat rooms on Battle.net. Yeah. which we still can't get back for Warcraft 3 Remastered.
No, or StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2. Don't even get me started on the chat rooms, man. It's
unbelievable.
it was so much better 20 years ago.
I know.
Honestly. Everyone knows too. Everyone knows. It's just but guess what? The guy who designed Facebook designed this chat, so I guess it's better. Sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Tasteless's first cast was we were at the 2005 USA Finals, and there was a guy casting that just didn't know the game, and this is the crazy thing. They were like asking the audience because it was like just the finals, which was Day9 had knocked me out.
Okay.
And was in the finals. So me and Nick are standing there, and a couple other of the USA players are standing there, and they're like, "Does anyone want to go up and cast with this guy?" And I was actually thinking, I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should go up and cast like that. I could do that. I know this game." But Tasteless was much quicker, and he just was like, "I'll do it."
Yeah.
And so there he was, and that was the beginning of his casting career.
That is like asking for a doctor on a plane. When like we have a dying like situation here. There is an esport dying. Like we need somebody to come up here and solve this right away. So then, how did you get into it after that?
Well, after that, Nick started casting quite a bit and got pretty popular for that. Like he'd fly to the WCG events and stuff and show up when he could and cast. And it was funny because I mean we were starting to hang out at these events, and I remember actually we were in a room having like a beer, me and him and In Control and a couple other people. And he's like, "Would you ever be a caster?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't think so, man. I would never, I'm not really into that." But then like he went to Korea, and well, I think it was maybe right before he went to Korea. It was like the casting was picking up a little bit. People were starting to use Fraps to like make videos and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And the thing is, the foreign Brood War scene was full of players that really put in a lot of effort for absolutely no gain. And I had a lot of respect for them. What?
In what sense? Like there was just no rewards back then?
Oh, there was nothing.
Yeah.
If we had a $50 tournament, every good non-Korean player would play in it.
No shit.
Because that would be like $50. Holy shit, that's crazy. Because we had no tournaments. We only had WCG, and that was if you were in the right country.
Yeah.
Because not even every country would have it. So we'd have friends that were like really good top level players. They're like, "Oh, Belarus doesn't have a WCG qualifier this year." And we'd be like, "I am so sorry."
That's it.
Like, your year of practice is gone. you get no tournaments this year. So we had nothing. We had nothing going on, but everyone practiced like they were pros. You know, like practicing like crazy. So I wanted to make a tournament for them to highlight, you know, like how good they were and how much they you know, put in the effort and everything. So I, with my friend who ended up being the Warcraft 3 USA champ, Gentho, we started a little tournament, and that was my first casting. That was like 2007. Was my first time casting, and it was just to kind of make something for the foreign scene.
Damn. And was there a prize pool to that?
I can't even remember because we got to the finals, and the thing is, it was a really weird format where it was 3-player round robin. Like I came up with this really cool format, and then I could never get the players to agree to a time, and we never finished the tournament, which I still get teased about within StarCraft to this day. So I can't recall. Maybe there was a small prize, like $50 or something, but
people have to remember that like at this point, the sort of meta of like nowadays you might have somebody that's like aspiring to run like a Smash tournament or even a StarCraft tournament or whatever. We'll just be like, yeah, like we'll put a couple $1,000 down, raise it from the community, Kickstarter it, stream it, whatever. None of that shit exists. Like Twitch isn't around, right? There's no like, this is people that are like literally going to like a LAN area or like janking together some fucking like power strip and then like setting this stuff up. Like this is real, like Tony Stark in a box of scrap shit in a cave building these things, right? Like, yeah.
No, the old days, I mean, getting everything done was so much harder. It was just, it was so hard to put this stuff together that anyone that put in the time would get some views and stuff, but we didn't even have ways to track views. No one was uploading to YouTube in the beginning. It was just, I can't even remember the name of the video platform we uploaded the first VODs to. I'm sure it's all gone and stuff, but like it was not even YouTube.
I remember like Day 9 had like 400 or 500 episodes of StarCraft strategy shit on, was it Blip or something? Something like that.
Oh God, Blip.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would go on there and I would watch, because I was in StarCraft 2, I was a Master Zerg and a Diamond Random.
Oh,
And,
nice.
and I played a shit ton of StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
So I would go on there and always like look up strategies and like look at like roach all-ins and like look at like look at like six pools and shit like that, and like try to like watch those games. And like I would think I was using Blip to watch a lot of those episodes, because he would have a daily episode that was just like talking about maybe 4 or 5 replays, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In StarCraft.
Yeah, the Day 9 daily. That's
the Day 9 daily.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah. And they did
people
really
still
well.
really miss that.
For sure. Yeah, they did really well. Like I don't think they were ever monetizable through like any kind of like ad or CPM system.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it did, I mean, that type of thing really kind of launched his whole career, I think.
Everything else.
Everything kind of built off of that, because everyone was like, well, this stuff is great.
Yeah.
And I have deep respect for him keeping that up, because I tried doing something similar to that, because he and I are kind of similar. We're both like really analytical and love to analyze the game, but I made like I think 7 episodes total that were like that, and I was like, this sucks. I can't do this anymore. I don't know how he kept it up all the time.
It's super hard. Consistency is like the #1 most difficult thing in brand building by a huge margin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People really overthink a lot of the, and this is like, my whole deal is like, well, I guess a big part of it is like how to build brands and like how to do it kind of inadvertently. Like it's just because I think about it a lot in the context of like helping other influencers do it, that people ask me questions about it. And I think that we overcomplicate the technical side of it. It's like, do I need this mic or this mic? Do I need this kind of title? Or it's like, dude, if you just are there every day, Day 9 didn't care about like any of that shit. He's just there every day making this shit over and over and over and over again. And after 5 billion, like I can't even imagine how much of his content is lost to time, because he didn't even start on YouTube until like God knows when, right? But it doesn't matter, because all of that was like building brand equity for some future point, and it maybe not even for like, because he's mostly does like Magic shit now, but still like
he doesn't do
history.
much StarCraft anymore, but. Yeah, no, totally. It's I think it's more fun for people to, how do I put it? It's like to almost pretend that they're going to do something by getting ready to do it.
I wish there was like a phrase for that. That's like 100%. Yeah, that's 100% right. That's exactly what it is. It's like a lot of and that when I notice like a lot of people, it stopped lately, but like, man, like about a couple of months ago, I was getting like over 150 to 200 emails a week. And like a lot of it was these sort of people looking for permission. It was all like, hey, I'm looking for validation. Do you think, this, I could be a streamer, or this, my idea is good? And I'm like, dude, like, yeah, you just got to go out there and do it. Like, I don't think necessarily that you'll succeed, but you can succeed if you stay consistent. It's just so few people do.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I mean, I get a lot of people asking questions about commentary and stuff. It's like
being a caster.
I mean, you just at the end of the day, you have to start creating content. And if you're not going to be practicing your casting and doing it all the time, you don't need me to watch your video and critique your casting. You're not even there yet. Right?
Exactly.
Like, you should be making so much content that I hear about you, and then you can have this conversation.
And being a caster is like if you want to go into casting, I think that one of the most obvious paths to that is casting games. I mean, it sounds really dumb, but like posting your videos on YouTube and being like, here is my cast of this game, so that you have a portfolio. I was helping Riot at one point hire LCS casters. This is back in the day, like David Turley, like Freak. Riot Freak was like one of the first, and so like I was like kind of like I was like adjacent to him in Dignitas, just like helping structure that system and like what it would look like. And I was amazed at how many people would like submit a resume or something. They're just like, yeah, I could do this. Like, sure. Like, it's like, where's your portfolio? Like, you have no videos or anything. Like, you're like, how could we possibly evaluate you for this position if we can't see you? If we can't see you doing it.
Just pretending that you can do it. Be like, yeah, no, I can do what the man on the TV's doing.
Yeah, because
do it then.
Yeah, it is so, and I guess that's a good segue because casting, is something that I've been very close to. I've been in FGC. Because I ran CLG for a long time, so we had we had really diverse set of teams. But I'm not like blowing sunshine. I genuinely believe that you and Nick as a duo are the best casters in esports, and like that is like a title that you just like has never even like no one's even come close to knocking it down. I will
You're
like
too kind.
Well, but here's why, right? And this is like what I really want to start getting into is like, I still go back on my stream all the time and go watch like the highlights, like GSL highlights with you, and like I think what you managed to do is you managed to like humanize the game in a way that anybody, even someone who doesn't understand mechanics, can follow. That it becomes incredibly rewarding for someone who does understand the game to watch it, but also somebody who doesn't understand the game to watch it. Because like in one instance, you'll be talking about like why this Valkyrie is going to apply better damage to a Mutalisk. And then like at the other, you'll be talking about like Slugfest. And like and like the greatest like Slugfest, which is this random event that happens somewhere in like the back south in the United States, and it's a bunch of slugs that do competitions. And like it's like how did you get here? Like how did like your casting style is so accessible and so fucking funny. like
yeah. Well, I mean, we put a lot of thought into it, and it's funny because what you describe is also one of the things people will hate on us for.
Really?
Like, we get a certain amount of hate where people are like, talk about the game. Like, what's wrong with them? Everyone's better than them. Why are they talking about Ninja Turtles? And it's like, okay, well, this guy definitely doesn't get it. First off, you can't please everyone, but if you look at just the pure amount that Nick and I cast, I think it's really important that we add in all sorts of side stuff, because like a serious face broadcast, the amount of days that we cast in a light year of just StarCraft 2 for GSL, it's like 90 days. Right? It's like
it's insane.
That's a light year of StarCraft 2 might be like a 90 days of casting or something, right? And it's like, well, are you going to watch 93 to 4 hour days where it's all serious face, nothing but analyzing the game, the same Reaper attacking Zergling fight the entire, like, no, that's gonna suck. You have to have like that bigger range within it. And then, I mean, the thing is, casting is kind of I guess like complex about how to do it. The way that we try to approach it a lot of times is just looking at what is the show that we're doing, who is our viewer base. So, like, for instance, if you look at the one that I use a lot when I explain this is I Am Pyeongchang, where it was like the lead into the Olympics. It was like the Olympic like social media and stuff was putting on stuff about the IEM that was going down. So that was our most noob friendly casting we've ever done, was that event, because it's like, okay, this is probably the broadest people. These are people that are here to watch fucking curling or something, and they're going to see this, and we want to make it very accessible.
So were you deliberate, like just talking to Nick in that process of like, okay, here's how we should structure this or think about it beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
We always talk about that. In fact, for that particular event, we had a big team of casters out in Korea to do that, and I actually called them together and we're like, okay, let's make this the most noob friendly, no lingo, zero lingo, right? Don't say racks, say barracks. That's where the Marines are made, right? Like, don't use any lingo. It's not a 12 pool. Okay, that's not what it is today. And I mean, everyone super got on board, because it's like when you explain it, it's like, well, this is this type of audience. Or like if you look at, you know, it's a conversation that Nick and I have, especially when it's a new period. Like even in a GSL season, right? Like the lower rounds are the more hardcore fans.
Sure, of course, because like it's not like up to the point where like the Code S and everybody's playing. Yeah,
like the finals will just make it hype. We won't really make many jokes. There'll be almost no jokes in a finals of GSL. Whereas a lot more jokes at the beginning, because it's like these people watch every episode, and you know we need them to stay entertained and have fun. So
Yeah.
it's just like it's really important to know who you're actually casting to and have a strategy for that. If you just, I think a lot of people that are newer commentators just go into anything and they're just like, I don't know, this is how I cast, and then they're like, oh, I'm with this guy, and they don't even think about how they cast, and then they just both are talking about the game, and it's like this is not cohesive at all.
Right. Or I see one of the biggest problems I think with like the LCS in particular is, and one I've been very public about this, so like I'm not, it's all good. I feel like outside of David, outside of Freak, like they're very analytical. Holy shit! It's like, well, this guy is going to push the top lane tower with the Masamune +7 attack damage sword. And if he upgrades that into the Dragon Moon, it will become the +3 sword. And that will give him a +10 to attack. And that should add a lot of... And it's like you have like... And then you have like some grandma that's like sitting there like, what the hell is this? Like there's just no... like there's no connection there, right? Whereas like what you do is you humanize the game. What like I understand StarCraft 2 at a very deep level, but at the same time, I completely enjoy even the most like resident sleeper Terran versus Terran matchup because you guys are telling stories through it, right? Like, and I think with you in particular, you you at least a lot of the time initiate a lot of comedy, and then Nick will usually like pick up off you. And I wonder how you learned that, like how you learn to integrate that. That to me is like I think one of the most important aspects of being an entertainer. How did you come across that?
I don't know. I think it's just like part of. I'm just kind of like a sarcastic guy that jokes around.
I'm just a really funny guy. Like,
yeah, no, I don't.
It's amazing.
I honestly wasn't social or anything in school growing up. And I guess it's just like my younger brother and I have a really similar sense of humor. And we just would joke around all the time and always be sarcastic about everything and try to one-up each other in ridiculousness all the time when we were talking. And so that kind of, when I started hanging out with Nick and I moved to Korea, I realized he was somewhat similar to that. And we kind of like, we're great friends. So we just hung out a lot and joke around a lot because it's like, well, if you're hanging out with your friends and you're not laughing,
what are you doing?
Are they your friends? Like, what are you doing? Like, I actually don't even understand. Like, anytime I'm with friends, I actually just want to laugh. What else are we doing? Like, what is friendship if you're not laughing? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't get it. So
it's like a philosophical question.
Yeah, it's like otherwise, like I'm not really having fun if I'm not laughing some, right? It's like, so I don't know. We just kind of did it. We just joke around a lot and did it in the cast because that's like. I think that's an important thing is in a broadcast, you want one of the things I tell people sometimes, like some of the better casters that come to me for some sort of advice or something is like, listen, you're trying to make the people at home comfortable, right? Like you don't want it to be awkward. Being awkward is the worst thing that can happen. If we get awkward at all, we just call it out immediately on the broadcast.
In what way?
It's like, oh God, I'm so dumb. Like, what am I doing here? Right? Like, we'll make fun of ourselves or make fun of each other because you don't want someone to sit at home and cringe while they're watching. That is right. Like when I watch some cringy video, I have to get up and leave my computer. You know, I'm just like, oh God, it's terrible. But yeah, we kind of just want people to basically feel like they're hanging out with friends watching the game. Right? Like we're your friends and we're all sitting on the couch talking shit about the game and like discussing the game some, but also talking about other things that come to mind. And that kind of makes people more comfortable, I think, and enjoy the show more.
How do you think up like these crazy fucking stories you have? Well, like, like it's so like, do you do any kind of like writing or like preparation, or are you just literally just like random as hell?
It all comes off the top of our heads.
That's insane. That's so crazy.
I maybe have one pre-written thing I want to say a year, and it never comes out right.
Okay. Okay.
Like occasionally, I'll think of something like, "Oh, that's funny." And I'll type it into my phone, and then I'll try to use it, and I'll be like, it's not. Everything comes better off the top, I think.
Interesting.
Just to kind of, I feel like you don't want to try too hard with comedy and stuff. I don't know. I'm not like formally trained or anything, but like that's Basically everything that comes out of my mouth, I just kind of make up on the fly.
I don't know if there is any formal training. You know, the one thing that I recommend to like any caster or any person that's trying to build a brand or do anything in terms of entertainment or really be anyone at all is to take an improv class.
Mm.
That was amazing for me. Like I went from like a person who like was like a college thesis like professor, like actually putting people to sleep with my stream, to like I don't know, 10%, 20% better than that now, and like now people actually can stand watching it for longer than 3 minutes. Yeah, it was, and a lot of that was just because like I was like breaking through my comfort zone of like and thinking spontaneously. A lot of the concepts that you probably employ naturally are sort of formalized through improv training.
Yeah, it would make sense. I think now you have me kind of thinking on the subject. This is kind of a funny thing that myself and Tasteless and Day9 talk about sometimes, where Day9 always jokes with us that like we're not even really actually funny, but we both think each other are really, really funny. So, and the thing is, we're basically trying to make each other laugh.
Okay,
that's like how we do it a lot, and we know we have very similar senses of humor.
yeah.
So we're trying to make each other laugh, and we get so into it and start laughing ourselves. So we are almost tricking people into thinking that we're funny. So that's like Day9's take on us a lot of the time.
Interesting. Well, that's interesting because Day9, I know, actually got really deep into comedy, like the formal. I try to do stand up, and I feel like I talk about Day9 a lot in the context of like this is how you take. And this is a motivational context. It's not like depreciating. Like you take an unfunny person and make them into a person who can be funny. That to me is one of the most motivating things. Is like is looking at a person who's like previously pretty awkward and uncomfortable and would be seen as like incredibly charismatic later on, right? Like The Rock. If you've ever like looked into stuff about him, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like you can look at like early footage of him. And he's this just unbelievably awkward dude. Like he's like looking off to the side and he's like really crunched in. And then like when you look at him now, he's just like incredibly enigmatic. That's a really tough word. Yeah, like incredibly like charismatic like person. That's just like like when you go into a room, like you feel. And I remember this from TwitchCon, the last TwitchCon since the plague. I was sitting at a table with like Day9 and like 8 other influencers, and I don't remember who was at the table, but like, man, it was like some big people. It was like some people that have like 10 to 15,000 person audiences, and Day9 just owned the table. He was just hilarious. Like, yeah, but that's all like cultivated. That's what's so cool about it. It's like something you can do. With with training, you know, like
I believe you. I mean,
I think you're like an example of it. I just don't know. Sometimes when I talk to people, they have like this incredible ability, and maybe they themselves don't 100% know how they did it. But I believe like if you work through it logically and you analyze it, the building blocks make sense. Like you had already mentioned, like you had this relationship with your younger brother where you were always like trying to one up each other. And so you were joking from a really young age. That probably had a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah. That's that. Like a lot of the jokes we have are kind of like similar to as a kid, how we used to joke around where just like the ridiculousness steps up. Right.
Yeah.
So Nick calls it bizarro worlds, these bizarro worlds that we create where we keep on going back and forth with like how stupid we can get the scenario that we're describing. That's funny. And that's like that's always been part of my part of what I think is funny, I think.
Do you find a difficulty in doing this with other casters? Like when you get on, because I know you've had a lot of other casters as well. Is there a change in the dynamic there, like, or like how do you view that?
Well, yeah, it's I think every caster, every person is really different, so I try to adapt to whoever I'm with, basically. You know, there's people that are, you know, have a lot of the same experiences as me and similar personalities and think the same types of things are funny, where I can have a similar cast to what I have with Tasteless. And then there's different people, right? If it's someone that's a more serious face analytical caster or something, I'll add a little bit of levity, but I won't try to get super joking around because it won't work. You kind of have to adjust. I think that that's something that I'm pretty good at, is adjusting to who I'm with, because you can't just bring the same casting tool set into every broadcast.
Absolutely.
It's like you have to be able to mix that up and match with the person you're with. Like look at what their strengths are and then bend into that, right? Like a lot of people, when I cast with them, I'm the analytical caster. But if you put me down with a pro, I'd switch immediately. I'm like, nope, I'm not even going to analyze anything because this guy is a pro gamer and that's what he's going to be good at. So there's no point.
So you'll just add like so you, I guess like casting has evolved into this, like there's color commentary and there's what they call like, what's the other word for it? Descriptive?
I think it's like, in Korea they call it caster and commentator. And then it's like outside of Korea, it's like color and analysis, I think. Yeah.
So you can switch between both, which a lot of casters can't do.
Well, Nick and I both do both when we cast together, but I lean more analytic and he leans more color, because that's just like how our personalities are and how what we like and stuff. But like we kind of made sure that we both could do both. I think it's actually, if you're not doing that, like if you're like, for instance, if you're a pro gamer that's trying to be a commentator and you're like really great at analysis and people are loving that, you are doing yourself a great disservice if you're not learning how to hype a battle, right? If you're not learning how to speak quickly and excitedly and change the tone of your voice and the pace, like what are you doing? You're selling yourself short. Like you should be able to do the whole range. You don't have to be fantastic, but it's going to add to your commentary skill.
It's weird because I feel like esports is going in a different direction. Like right now, especially in like franchise leagues, they are hiring for, like they will hire for a color commentator position and that will be your shit, right? Or they will hire for an analytical position and that will be your stuff. Like CDL is doing that, LCS does that. And I actually agree with you. I think that casters need to be far more versatile. Particularly because they're never going to be on the same cast. So you may be rotating in a franchise spot like the LCS with 6 or 7 other commentators. And at that point, like you need to be versatile. You can't just like bring your same analytical game to the whole thing every time.
Yeah, and it doesn't even make sense. Like you have to help your co-commentator out. So like even though you might have been hired to an analytical role, sometimes the flow of a cast doesn't match what the production wants you to do. Like there are absolutely situations where I'm analyzing something and have to turn it into something that's not analysis, that's more of a hosting role because I'm getting called in my ear to do so, right? And like also if I'm an analyst and there's another analyst and I can do the color aspect and he can't, I'm just gonna be a better commentator. Like mine's gonna sound more exciting. My analysis will sound more exciting because I have that bigger range. So it's like you really should. I don't know. I think a lot of these franchise leagues, some of the ways that they decide to do things is like what is the point here? Why are you deciding that this is how it has to be done?
A lot of it is just so I like when I got into esports. My interest was in like building what like you and I and like you to a huge extent, me to like a lesser extent, because I really got into esports about 2014-ish. And by then, like we had Twitch, we had decent LAN events, like it was like, you know, like there was the LCS was going on. And I think that was like the pregame before like the franchising, right? Like which is now the current state of esports. And the interest there was like, okay, how do we like if we're playing in the mid game and like we view the end game as like franchising, what are the building blocks that get there and what are the interesting problems we have to solve? And as we went through them, I saw the trajectory of esports becoming much more like traditional sports. And that was because of the forced culture of the large organizations that owned traditional sports teams that were coming in. They were imposing that culture on esports, which kind of blows because the whole reason that we did this was like to sort of carve out a niche in gaming that didn't exist before. And the best parts of esports, in my opinion, right, are the ones that are from that, because CDL and like and OWL and like LCS have these in my opinion, especially now, like have these like very mechanical feels. And there's whereas if you go into StarCraft or FGC, which I think are the two like sort of last bastions, pylons, if you will, of like East. I can't do a conversation with you and not say the word pylon. This is not possible.
They never forgive you.
No, we can't. Like, it's just part of it. But it really is like the last thing sort of powering that. Even like, and like the funny thing is like FGC can go really big. You can have Evo and you can have like Frostbite and you can have these like huge audiences and still get that. There's such a difference sitting in an FGC crowd where like where something happens and you just like. Like just to stand up, you're just freaking out, and like everything is amazing, and like everyone's jumping up and down. People run on the stage, whereas like in the LCS, there's like guards, and they're just like fucking stacked up, and they've got like tasers, and you're like begging for a handshake with Double. If you're like, please, sir, like like trying to like get in touch with them or something. It's such a different dynamic.
Yeah. I personally the franchising stuff, I'm not the biggest fan of. It's just kind of been, it's like you say, it's a little bit too clean, it's a little bit too forced, and we see that like, I mean, huge props to Riot with their LCS stuff, because I mean they've like stayed the course, and it seems like League of Legends will just not go away.
I think
it's
so.
Doing great, right? And that's awesome to see. But they did that, and then suddenly there's a bunch of things trying to copy that because they're like, oh, let's do that too. And it's like, oh, this is super forced. This is super not cool. And that, let's make an esports bubble. All right, it's time. Let's let's ruin the careers of a bunch of hardworking people who got us to this point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's. I think there is so much money. And like invested capital on the side of a lot of these like franchise leagues. Like when I started to see the prices of the slots going for some of these other leagues, I was just like amazed. I was like, man, you take one of the city spots for one of those leagues, and you like that's like all of esports money for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
What like if you put all the teams together that have ever existed, they probably haven't made $40 million. like to this day, if you count out like the apparel guys, like 100 Thieves and like those guys, like the who I don't even think are esports teams. I think they're like they have an esports team. They have some guys that esport, but they're selling shirts. Like that's what they're doing, right? And like that's where all their money is coming in. So it's just and like I think it's just a whole different thing.
Yeah, and to watch all that money go in there and not
come out.
I don't. And not come out. It's like if you gave me $40 million to work with in StarCraft, you're like, Artosis, you've been around a long time, and you know what you're doing. Here's $40 million. Do something in StarCraft. I'm like, I'll get you better returns than what we're seeing in some of these leagues. I promise you that.
You would do some crazy shit. Because like BlizzCon started getting super cool with a lot of the StarCraft tournaments. Do you remember that stage they had where it would like warp with like the Zerg would come? They had this stage for people that are listening. Like they had this stage that was like, how do you describe it? It was like LED panels, right?
No, it was
or something.
So it was 3D projection.
Yeah.
It's like this giant thing where they have all the lights that shoot on it, and it would just change. They couldn't capture how epic it was on camera for people at home. You had
was
to be
a
there
live thing
and be surrounded by it and be like, "Oh my god, that was amazing."
Yeah, you would watch like a Zerg versus Zerg match, and so like it would be like in the Protoss match, it would be like technological, and there'd be like glowing pylons and lights and stuff, and then like these tendrils of creep would come on. It would take over the whole stage, and you're like, "Wow, this is so cool!" And then they had the players in those like boxes that were elevated above the stage, right? They were playing like 30 feet up. It's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, like nobody did that shit to this day.
It looks so cool, man.
It's like my favorite stage of all time in esports. So
I remember
cool.
hearing that cost like $2 million to put together.
Easy, but like when you compare that to like and that's the thing. Like the money that's going into esports now is just going to publishers. It's like not going to like stage creation. It's not going to like like actually making esports like this more awesome thing like that. You know, it's just going to publishers.
Well, I mean, some of it's going to publishers, and some of it's going to the people who run the publishers events too, right?
Yeah.
Because esports has undergone like such a change. Once upon a time, you would, as an esports company, you would host an esports tournament
Hmm.
and find sponsors and figure out a way to monetize it, and that was like your business plan for
Yeah.
an ESL or DreamHack or something. And at some point, it switched over to now publishers pay us to do everything,
Hmm.
and it's like that. I think that whole switch was like, I was not a big fan of that switch. I don't know
Interesting.
what you think about that, but that was, I think that was a big downturn in the potential future of where we could be right now.
It was really abrupt. When I was like when I was doing a lot of the esports stuff, it was all ESL. It was all like produced by third party tournament organizers and stuff. And now it's like a few people that have the contracts, or you're sort of a thing like Riot is, which is like all in house. Like Riot just controls the whole thing. I don't think that's going to be the MO for most publishers, because it's just such an ass blasting thing it's so crazy to run that whole thing in house without any sort of like outsource or anything. And Riot can really only do it because they have built that from the ground up, like the first computer like they plugged in. Whereas like I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like Epic, where and this is what I wish, and this is probably like I'm like, if there was ever preaching to the choir, like this is it. Like I want to see more things where like a publisher is just like, here is money, go forth and create events. And like Epic, for all their problems they had with Fortnite, really enabled so many people to play, and new pros and people like Booga and people like to come up that you would never expect. Because the real pain of franchising is that you don't see people come up through the woodwork, because the teams scout them out, and it's not advantageous to us to hold on to a player and then release them because they suck, because that's a brand hit for us. If we have a good player and they've got 500,000 followers on Twitter and they suck ass, we don't want to release that person, and we don't have to because we're not getting relegated, right? But like, we want to keep that player on as long as possible, because that brand is fueling all of our sponsorships.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, so what franchising has done, and the sort of culmination of like publishers giving over this stuff to third parties is really limit the opportunities of new people to get into the space. That's the biggest fault of it.
We've definitely seen that, because it like sounds very cool to have the franchise teams until you're a player that can't get in because there's no way to show your skill and gain fame because everyone's just watching the players that are already established. I feel like there is a middle ground there that Korea hit with StarCraft 1.
Oh, really?
Where, because I mean, they had all the Pro League teams, right? And those were huge brands themselves. Like SK Telecom, the biggest cell phone provider, was like the Yankees of StarCraft 1. And the thing is, they would take the best players that come up, right? Because there was like a tournament structure to get players to the top, and then they draft them. And at the end of the day, the team wanted to win the team competition more than anything. So it wasn't only about the big brands. The big brands were important, and stuff got moved around so that they could still be involved. But like, I felt like there was more throughput with that. So that was like a much better model than a lot of what we see right now. And I'm not even sure why that was the case, but it was the case.
Interesting. Right? That was a really unique thing, is because that's like really the first time we ever saw government sponsor esports teams, where is this affecting? I don't understand Korea as well as you do, but SK Telecom is a government subsidized organization, right?
No,
it's a massive corporation, right? But
it's massive. It's like basically back in the old Pro League, it was all the big companies. So there was like the two biggest cell phone providers had the two best teams, and then it was like this company that's like Umbrella Corp that owns basically everything had the third biggest team. And then it's like, okay, this other company that makes electronics and food has a team. And it was this shipbuilding company. Korea's huge on shipbuilding. A shipbuilding company had a team. There were these huge things, so that all the biggest brands in Korea that everyone knew battled against each other weekly in the Pro League. And there were team fans. There were fans of players, but there were also fans like you had a team that you cheered for. And
So is SK
yeah.
Telecom an entirely private company in Korea?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit.
They're the biggest cell phone provider in Korea. Like my cell phone is SK Telecom.
Okay, I thought that they have some kind of government link.
Okay, so that's the governing organization of esports in Korea, which isn't as relevant anymore, called KESPA, Korean Esports Association.
Got it. Okay.
And people from each of the teams were on the board of that. So there was some light connection to the government because that was partially government run. Like there was definitely like a connection that way, but these were all like private companies.
Got it. Interesting. That's new to me. Those guys also fielded teams in league and did unbelievably well. So the best players ever to exist were on SKT for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember I lived in Korea for about 4 or 5 months, and we were boot camping in Seoul. And I remember we would try to scrim SKT, and they would just like arrogantly, like they would scrim. So the way the Korean teams work for NA teams, and this is like, it's so ironic, right? You'd have all these NA teams in league. Artosis already knows what's coming. Like you'd have like all these NA teams in league. We'd all like pack up, rent a hotel for 3 months, sack up $10,000 fucking everywhere, tens of thousands of dollars, get there, put everybody in rooms, set up a LAN in like their office space or whatever, and get everything jacked in, only to end up scrimming North American teams for the whole time. And the reason was because we'd go with a Korean team, we'd fight SKT. They would like try us out. Like if we're lucky, we get like a couple days of scrims, and they'd be like, put their hand, and then they just peace out, go back to scrimming Korean teams because it's a waste of their time, right? It's like, and those teams were so good at the game. Oh my god, to this day they're so good.
No, it's crazy over here what they've actually accomplished with that. Just the infrastructure in Korea is so wild.
Do you think that's the difference? I've always thought about it, you know.
I think there's a lot of things, right? I've lived in Korea for 12 years now, so I have a pretty unique perspective, especially being a StarCraft person, because this is one thing I love to, whenever I hear any game complain about how good Koreans are, I'm like, listen, bro, you don't even know. Okay, StarCraft 1, this is the game where there is more room between Koreans and everyone else than all the other ones put together. It's like, I can't even, it's infinite. It's infinite. So, but I mean, the infrastructure, the fact that these people are actually famous out here and in shoe commercials and like get stopped on the street and have to have guards to walk through crowds. And, you know, all that. Plus there's tons of prize money and you put all that together. And then there's also this certain amount of work ethic that's just within the culture itself. Koreans are just hard workers. They actually work more hours than any other country on earth. It's just, they work their asses off and they don't complain. It's like, I mean, I'm a huge complainer myself, but for the most part, Korean pros, they don't complain. They're just like, oh, I lost. Okay, GG, I have to get better. And it's like, dude, that was imbalanced. That was messed up. They don't care. It's like, they're just, you put all that together. I mean, how are you going to beat that?
Yeah, they're never like, well, Colossi are overpowered. God damn it, it's too much AOE. You know, I feel like this is one of the reasons why StarCraft 2 is like such a difficult game to play, is like ladder anxiety, right? And like if you're an American or someone like that, you'll be like, I'll do it. I'll always find a reason. Like for me, it was Protoss all the time. I'm like, Protoss are OP. I fucking hate it every time. Why is there so much fucking value for the ship for the thing you build? Like, why is it that like a single stalker just kills my entire army, right? And like, you find things to blame instead of like what Koreans do is like they go back to themselves like, okay, I'm bad. I have to get better. Right?
Yeah.
I have to get better. And they also, it's not only that they work so hard, it's that they work deliberately.
Yeah.
Like they deliberately practice. They watch replays, they watch tape, they go through it. They're like, okay, how do I improve? Right.
And they'll put in more hours than anyone else too. And they'll try the whole time. They won't be, you know, dicking around on Twitter. Yep. That's for sure, right? They're not going to have a stream open while they're doing it. They're going to practice, and that's going to be it. And overall, the hours are going to pay off in that situation.
Yeah, man, that's interesting.
I think what you said there, though, with the ladder anxiety and the making excuses and stuff is part of the reason why StarCraft and just 1v1 games in general, I have a harder time than these team games, man, because I think games like team games and then games like Hearthstone, you have so much that you can blame that you can actually protect your ego. Whereas in
100%.
StarCraft, it is so impossible to protect your ego. Like, you can make as many excuses as you want, but that's why everyone balance wines, to be honest, because that's like,
That's
I mean,
the
you were
outlet.
there. You were the only one. Your teammate didn't let you down because you don't have a teammate.
Yep.
There's so little RNG. There's a little bit of RNG, but there's not enough that you can blame all your losses. It's very rare to lose to RNG. So it's like, you're just bad at games.
Particularly
Sorry.
if you lose to something really bad, like a cannon rush, you did like that you didn't scout. You're just like, like you're just like sitting there in the corner rethinking your life because like you're like, all right, I'm ready. I've got my roach all in. I'm here. It's 6 minutes. I'm good. And then it's like you just see the cannon come in from the fog of war, and you're like, no, like I didn't scout it. Like there's no excuse. There's nothing you could do. It's just you're bad. It's over. Like I remember these like very visceral feelings in StarCraft 2 of like just sitting there like on my bed after a defeat like that and just being like, why do I exist? What is my purpose?
Dude, I go through that almost every day. I'll have at least one game where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? How could I've been playing the game for 22 years. How am I still losing to this bullshit? Like, how does that happen? It really makes you question.
It does. But I also think that same aspect of like 1v1ing actually makes you a better person because it holds you accountable to more shit. And like I would unironically say that like StarCraft has made me a more responsible person in like accepting and analyzing my personal failures and getting better at them. I can't say that for like League of Legends, which just made me want to die in a fire. right. Like, yeah, like I was like, wow, I'm like a more self-actualized person. Like I listen to Tony Robbins and like do 100 push-ups every day as a result of League of Legends. Like it just doesn't. There's no translation there. You know?
Yeah. This is a funny thing that always happens, right? Like people come in. Like I stream a lot of StarCraft 1, and I get really frustrated, and people are like, do you have fun playing this? You know, like, is this a fun game? And it's like, it's not about fun. It's really like, the thing is, yeah, I do have fun, but it's not like, if you want to play a game for fun, go download one on your cell phone or play Nintendo.
Like
okay, that's not what StarCraft is. Yeah, I'm actually improving myself, believe it or not. Like, I'm getting smarter and better at things and learning how to learn. And it's like, you put all that together and it's a much more rewarding experience than playing a video game for fun.
Yeah.
Right? Go play Mario Brothers. You want to have fun. God. StarCraft's not that. It's something else.
This attaches to a huge philosophy I have about gaming, which is like, I think that in every single game that you play that's going to be worth something, it needs to have some kind of element of loss, right? There needs to be something that it can take away from you. And I don't mean like your soul, like League of Legends, but I mean like in like, so like, for example, that my two favorite games of all time are EVE Online and Path of Exile hardcore for the same reason. It's like in EVE Online, if your ship explodes, that ship is no longer there. And that's not something you have anymore. Right. And in gaming, like we've moved towards this, like, well, you just respawn, like everything is going to be great. Like in StarCraft, it's like, if you lose your base is gone. You lost the game. You're a bad player. You have to rethink your life. Like it's like there's that visceral sense of loss, and that's like a snake shedding its skin to become stronger every time.
This reminds me of like, you know, what is it? The Xbox awards or whatever, where it's like no matter what you opened a door and it pops up on the screen, and I'm like. This is what's wrong with the world is stuff like this right now, where it's like everything gets rewarded and you never actually did anything wrong. Don't worry. It's like, yeah, you lost, but guess what you did? You made 3 hatcheries. There you go. That's something. It's like, no, that's nothing. Okay. Let's keep this where it's at.
Yeah. It's a huge difference in the psychology of gaming. And the funny thing is that I don't even think that it's like, some people are like, well, it's just like we're like 2 old men yelling at clouds. I don't even think it's that. I think there's a huge audience that actually wants this. that's just like waiting for that game to appear. And you see that through games like Dark Souls, where like a game will come out occasionally and it will just be fucking hard. And everybody will be like, I get it. I'm in, like, sign me up. Right. Like that demand for that audience is there. It's just so easy to like cookie cutter. One of the games that surprised me pretty recently was Fallen Order, the new Star Wars game by Respawn. Did you play it?
No, I don't know it.
It was like a Dark Souls-esque type of game, except with lightsabers and a Jedi. And if you played it on the hardest mode, it was pretty fucking challenging. It had that same idea of like, okay, I lose, I go backwards, I come back in, I try a new technique or something. It brought me back to like my StarCraft days in like a good way.
Well, the world has to turn around to quality again eventually, I think.
I keep
right
hoping
because
that's true.
really, if you look at it, we've been on this downward spiral
forever
in gaming for a really long time now, where it's like people have just figured out how to make everything tiny dopamine hits over and over and kind of get you addicted to, playing some shitty cell phone game, or, it's like, oh, you get all the Xbox notifications. It's amazing to see because it's so blatant that it's just trying to give you the tiniest dopamine hit to keep you there. And I mean, games have gotten worse and worse. Every company now, it's like a big game comes out and everyone's like, make one of those. Oh my God, battle royales. Everyone needs to have a battle royale. And it's like, I mean, eventually we're going to turn around. Okay. Eventually people are going to be like, you know what? RTSs are fucking great.
Yeah.
They are really hard and they are really entertaining. And we don't need to always feel good about ourselves when we play a game and always be able to blame a teammate. We don't need that. Eventually it has to turn around to that, or the human race is going to go extinct.
It's one of the two. It's like, and like, I'm probably like you, like I've been waiting so many years. Cause like the next RTS that comes, like, I feel like when we were kids, there was like, there was like a genie and he's like, choose wisely. And like on one side you have RTS and RPG games, and on the other side you have FPS games. And like, I was like, genie, I want to do RTS. And he's like, oh, you fucked up. And then, because like, if you are good at RTS, you play StarCraft. that's that. But if you're good at FPS, you're fucking Shroud. And you're like, oh, a new FPS came out. Time to get 50,000 viewers. And it's like you just like walk through the world, and like every door opens for you automatically because like there are so many FPSs. RTS is just like this, like, and people say it's a dying genre, and there's no evidence of that in the stats. Like what it is it's like more of like a Egyptian artifact that's been lost in the dunes that somebody will uncover one day, and it will like go into the Smithsonian and everybody will look at it, right, and play it and like engage with it. That's what it is. It's a lost. It's waiting for its time. And I've looked at like Grey Goo, and I've looked at like all the games that like got like tried to that was like a hit. Like he just like
Grey Goo. Oh, don't get me started.
I hit him all the way from here to Korea, dude. Like I got he felt that through the call. But that was the closest thing we had in the last 10 years to something tangible, right?
Oh man, it was terrible too. Like Grey Goo was a garbage RTS. Like a lot of the RTSs that come out, no one knows how to make an RTS except Blizzard, is what it seems, right?
Yeah.
The world is definitely ready for another RTS game, I would say.
100%.
It's like whenever something good comes out, it's going to go well.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. These developers that make RTS games for the most part, what are they doing? They make RTS games where the units don't even fucking respond. Like, I was so excited when Dawn of War 3 was coming out. I played Dawn of War 1.
Yeah.
Dawn of War 1 was great.
Yes.
That was a great RTS. Dawn of War 3 was coming out a few years ago, and I was pumped. I was like, oh, please, yeah, let's have another good RTS. I forced myself to play it for 3 hours. And it was so painful because it's like you tell shit to move, it doesn't even move.
Yeah.
There's 400 upgrades in the game. It's like you can't micro, you can't macro. It's nothing. It's what are we doing?
Yeah.
What the people in offices are like putting together these games that I don't even get it. Everyone's afraid of StarCraft. It's like, just make it so you can do things in the game. Let the player do things. Just because you, the programmer, can't do things doesn't mean that that's how you should make the game, so that nobody can micro. Like, what does that? Why? Why?
Another huge
it's-
aspect of it is that a lot of RTS moved mobile, right? And if you could call an RTS game on mobile that, but those developers are making those mobile games. And you know those like Clash of Clans type games, like where it's like they're all 24/7 and like real time, and they're and like they are sort of in the RTS inspired genre, but just not anything close to like an actual like game, you know?
Yeah. Well, people are trying to monetize this stuff too, right? And it's like,
yes, successfully.
I think
I've never seen anything like the monetization of mobile games. Like if you look at the CPMs of like we were doing advertising for mobile games in esports, and like you were getting like 50 to 50. So like some of the guys that were early on in Supercell, they had 6 employees when they launched Clash Royale, and they had like a top 4 San Francisco like skyscraper with a sous chef, 5-star sous chef in there, just cooking up the craziest shit because they were making like $1 billion per employee, like some fucking just stupid number. And they were telling me, they were like, if we get a person to download our app, the average player will spend $200. And I was like, holy shit. And then I'm like, so that means that they can spend like $50 on an acquisition of a single person, which is a shit ton of money in a marketing budget. Like, you could do so much with that. Yeah.
That's okay. So if they are getting on average, if you download $200 from a person, I saw people complaining that the new PlayStation games are going to cost like $100. You fucking complainers need to shut your mouths. Like, you guys don't even have any idea what you're talking about. Well, holy shit.
People are starting to see this kind of thing with like Genshin Impact, where like I think Genshin Impact is actually like Galactus. Actually, it's the Silver Surfer. It's the guy coming before the Galactus gets here. It's the first game that landed in the United States that's like, I guess BDO technically was that, but it's like the first game that's like the looming darkness of like true pay to do stuff type of shit. And everyone I know is dropping like $1,000, $2,000. Like there's a top clip on LSF of some guy getting like a rare weeb avatar character. And it's like, you know, if you spend enough money, you will get that character like that. You don't have to jump up and down after you spent $5K to get that guy, because that's what happens when you spend $5K. That is how this works, right? Like, and it's like, I think we may be entering the darkest timeline, hopefully to like get to that place of light you were talking about earlier, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, this can't go on forever, can it?
People will run out of money,
right? Eventually, people have to look at it and be like, "What am I doing?" I mean. And then a lot of these games that you're spending the money on, it's like, why are you playing this game? I honestly don't even understand. I don't spend money on like any game. I guess it's like I'll buy the skins that they make for StarCraft 2. Yeah, that's cool. I just want to support Blizzard for supporting the game.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm all about playing the high quality games for the most part. That's just.
Yeah, I mean, all the thing about like there's games like Path of Exile where I will pretty reliably spend $60 every 3 months on that game, because that's when the league rotations go through, and like I'll come by and buy a supporters pack, and they don't ask anything of me, but I get so much enjoyment out of that game that my dollar per hour is like amazing, and I'll still like put money into, but like this idea of like whaling. And what's so crazy about whaling is it's becoming, we're seeing this through Twitch, I think, it's like it's becoming this friends shouldn't let friends whale. Okay? If you're opening $2,000 of boxes, you shouldn't have a bunch of your buds on a Discord call like, yeah, bro, get that kid. It should be like, dude, it's time to stop. Calm down. You have a family. Take your girlfriend out to eat. Do something else with this money. Like invest it in the S&P 500. Anything. Like, you know, like we got it like that. I think that we're starting to normalize the culture of like spending a shitload of money to like get stuff in video games. That is not good.
I don't even like. I guess it must come back to like these dopamine hits and stuff, right? Where you're just getting so happy for opening whatever, and that's like. how you get your enjoyment. Whereas I feel like it's so much cleaner. I've spent less than $100 on StarCraft 1, and I probably played that game for 50,000 hours.
Actually,
if I had to guess.
insane that you've done that. Yeah, that's actually crazy.
That's just, it's like, yeah, that's the best game, and so that's what I spend my time on.
That's what I do. Yeah.
It's made me a better person, and I've gained a lot of skills from it and made a career out of it. And it's like, yeah, the original game was like $20, and then like $20 for the expansion, and then remaster came out, and I bought that, but they also gave me a copy for free, so I didn't need to buy it. So here we are. And it's like, isn't that better for people than opening $2,000 of skins or whatever?
I think
random things.
Companies have to make money. Obviously, there has, like you said, there has to be a balance. I remember, man, it's funny too, because back in those old games, like I must have bought StarCraft 1 a total of maybe like 6 or 7 times. I'd always lose the fucking CD, and I remember going to a Walmart. And I went to customer service, try to price match Brood War against like something else, and they were like, "We don't do that here, man. Just buy the game." You know, like I would I remember doing that, and yeah, I would get so much. I don't know how many hours I've put into StarCraft 1 and 2. It would be in the multi Warcraft 3, right? Like thousands and thousands of hours. I know you played a lot of Warcraft 2. Warcraft 3.
Yeah,
right?
I played Warcraft 2 for fun with my brothers. Like I was terrible. That was before StarCraft.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is so cool. What is this?
Yeah.
RTS.
Did you put a lot of hours into Warcraft 3?
Right when the game came out, like everyone from StarCraft, I switched over and played a lot. But for some reason, I was disconnecting over half the games.
Oh,
so I don't know if there was like a hack that was ramping the ladder, if my computer couldn't handle, if my internet couldn't handle. I'm not sure. I was like very good at the very beginning, and then I got disconnected so many times and couldn't climb the ladder because I got losses for all those. And so I was like, back to StarCraft. Yeah. And then I got to see all of my friends travel the fucking world and get huge sponsorships, and Grubby make 100K fucking sponsorship deals and win tournaments in China. And meanwhile, I'm waiting for that $50 tournament in Brood War.
Grubby was like a crazy outlier though. Like that dude is still nuts. I think he streamed Warcraft 3 pretty recently. He
does a lot actually.
Yeah, he tried to get him into the remaster craze, and that was a tough time. Artis. Yeah. That was a dark. I think the only game. Okay, there's 2 times I've ever refunded a game, because like my philosophy is, if I buy a game, even if I don't like the game, the developer put time into working on it, and it's like, yeah, you know, like support the developers, whatever. You know, they're hardworking. They put a lot of hours in these games. They care about their projects. The first game I ever refunded was a game called Camelot Unchained, which is, I played a game called Dark Age of Camelot at EverQuest 1, and Dark Age of Camelot, in my opinion, was like one of the best PvP MMOs ever made. And it, like, the promise of Dark Age of Camelot, they made this game called Camelot Unchained, which is like, Dark Age of Camelot is coming back, and it's the original people making it. And so I get in the Kickstarter, put a shit ton of money into it, and I'm like, I'm so excited. And then like I wait 7 years. I'm just like, I'm just sitting there. And then 7 years later, this is like last year, they have this big announcement stream. They're like, all right, we're ready. Like, we got our shit. And they announced that they've devoted a substantial amount of the resources of the original game over to a mobile tower defense game. I shit you not. They are making a mobile tower defense game. I was so booty blasted. I immediately like clicked the start stream button because I just had to let someone know. I just had to just talk to the world in a way. I was so upset, and that was the first thing I refunded. And like the funny thing is, Artosis, like they didn't want to give it to me, and like they sent me this email back. I sent them an email. It's like super. Well, you know, I'm like the classic like angry fan, like on the Overwatch forum. It's like one of those people that's like, this is an 8-page essay. I'm like, why? You know, like I went all out, and like they sent me an email back, and they're like, yeah, we're not gonna like refund your thing. Like you paid for it. That's it. And I actually did something like I've never done before, which was like, I like did everything in my, I name drop. I was like, you don't understand. I will become the super villain of this game. I will become a terrible thought. I will become an idea. And they were like, okay, here's your money. Just kidding. They didn't want to fund me because I was going to like I was like Lex Luthor. I'd devote my fucking life to like ending this game if they like. And so I got my money and I fucked off, and that was fine until a year later when I refunded Warcraft 3, and that was the same like type of experience. It was that level. Like I tell that whole story to like correlate to how I felt about remastered.
Well, sometimes you got to stand on principle and do something like that. That's for sure. That's for. I almost wish you would have become an idea though. That might have been a better marketing strategy for them to be like, "Oh yeah, fuck you, try it," and then just hang up the phone.
It would have been, yeah. I would have like used all my power for evil. Like, I would have just become a total supervillain, dude. Like that.
I'm waiting for that moment in my life where I can trade in everything I've ever done to spite somebody. That's gonna be an amazing moment for me.
Where it's just like, finally, like this is what I've been waiting for the entire time. I've built this whole career only so that I can direct that entire energy towards destroying this thing. Yeah, that's where I was at for sure, because it was like my childhood thing, you know. It's like if Blizzard ruined StarCraft, right? Like really ruined it, you know.
Oh, that would. Well, I feel for my Warcraft 3 brothers that are so upset with how that whole debacle has gone down. And I mean, some people even complain about StarCraft Remastered, but I'm like, we have a functioning ladder, and we get a few resets a year with new map pool. I'm good forever.
Yeah.
Just make sure it works on the most recent Windows for the rest of the time. I'm happy. Thank you.
It doesn't take
and
much.
They don't even have that in War 3, so it's like really sad. Like God.
I wonder if now that the old crew is back together at Dreamhaven, did you read about that?
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll put something out. Like that's a lot of the old StarCraft guys are there.
Yeah, well, that's what kind of excites me is that maybe we can get an RTS out of that, because that would like those are the people who know how to make RTS. People keep asking like, is StarCraft 3 going to be made?
Yeah,
and I'm like, everyone who worked on StarCraft doesn't work at Blizzard anymore. Right. So like, how? I mean, there's still some very good people there, but can they make a StarCraft by themselves? It seems like everything's been downsized to the point where they literally don't even have the staff to make such a game.
Yeah, and if they did, they wouldn't know what it is. It would be like it would be like in Warhammer 40K when like the human race is trying to rediscover the lost technology. like they're just like, we don't know how the fuck this thing works. We have it, like, but we don't know what it is. Like, we can't make another one. You know, like
probably make a tower defense game on your cell phone that comes out.
Yep. That's what happened to Diablo.
That'll be the real nail in the coffin is when StarCraft 3 comes out, it's on the cell phone. I'm just gonna.
That's an actual reality, dude. Like that's a timeline that we could exist in for sure.
Yeah.
Like StarCraft 3 could be a mobile game. And I would mobile myself into the Pacific Ocean. I'd keep swimming until I can't anymore. That would be it. That would be it, dude. I'd just be like, well, I've waited 15 years for an RTS.
Yeah. They say you can't die from holding your breath, but I'm going to test that now.
I'm going to hold my breath until you change the decision.
Yeah.
God damn. Yeah, it seems like it's been despite all this, right? StarCraft 2 is like an esport is still, I think, like alive and well, and has both like an American and Korean like very dedicated audience. I've loved to see what the GSL has done on Twitch.
GSL, I mean, was doing fantastic on Twitch. Honestly, the switch to YouTube hasn't really hurt us. Viewership is still really good over on YouTube with GSL, so that's great.
That's good.
But I think StarCraft 2 is doing well, and StarCraft 1 is doing well in Korea, and I think it's growing slightly outside of Korea, but not.
It is.
It's not like StarCraft 2. I think they're doing fine. It's like this is still my job. So I'm definitely as a man with 4 children.
You have 4?
Entire career is I have 4 children.
They're behind that.
I'm the canary in the coal mine for this. We'll see.
They're behind that screen. They're hiding.
Yeah. They're being good and quiet right now.
Yeah, that's an insane amount of kids. What happened?
Yeah. You know, when a man and woman love each other, Devin.
Tell me more.
I'm like, oh, the birds and the bees. A stork came multiple times.
That guy had like your address on lockdown, dude. Like he just kept showing up. Like that's a lot of kids.
Knew each other by name.
Yeah, definitely. Like I love my girlfriend a lot, but not 4 kids a lot. I think. Yeah, that's an ordeal.
When you get them, they're like pretty cool. You're like, oh, I like this little thing.
Yeah.
Some more of these. man. And I have twins. Too,
Oh, okay. When? How old are they?
3.
All of them?
The twins are 3.
Okay.
I have a twin 3-year-olds and a 1-year-old.
Oh, okay. So this is all fairly recent.
Well, within the 8 last years, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 3-year-olds, 1 1-year-old. Where's the 4th one?
8.
Oh, okay. Okay. So first kid was a while back.
Yeah, yeah. It took a while to get any more in there.
Yeah. What was behind your decision to actually move to and be a part of like the Korean scene? Why did you why did you give up on America, Artistus? No, okay.
You couldn't do esports in America back then.
Yeah,
you could not do it. There was not a job. There was nothing. There was literally, you could not make a living doing esports at all. Like, I think the only people that were professionally employed might have been like Team 3D in Counter-Strike back then. That might have been it for anyone who even remembers that team.
Yeah, I do. Like, very barely. I didn't. That's like a name that like I wouldn't have known until you brought it up again. Holy shit.
Yeah. No, it was, there was nothing. There were no opportunities. And the thing is, I always wanted to win an OSL. I wanted to go be a pro gamer in Korea. So,
okay. So, yeah, wait, did you actually move to Korea first to become a pro gamer?
Kind of. So basically, I was playing like I started playing StarCraft competitively around 1999, year 2000. Started flying to tournaments in 2002. And then like basically I was playing like really high level Magic the Gathering and really high level StarCraft at the same time. And I realized I had to drop one to go pro in the other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I just kind of thought about it a lot. Like I was doing really well in both. Like I was back then, it was like when Boston was the strongest Magic the Gathering area, and I was like top 8ing in the PTQs and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like if I was in another area, I would have qualified for the Pro Tour and stuff. And then in StarCraft, I was, you know, at the top of the national level, like hitting the top of tournaments, you know, for WCG and stuff. So I just kind of thought about it. I'm like, I like StarCraft more, man. I got to do it. So I quit Magic, and I decided in 2004, I'm like, I am getting to Korea no matter what. And it took a long time. Like I practiced as much or more than Koreans. I was playing like 12 to 16 hours a day in prep for WCG.
Wow.
I'd have a job for a certain amount of time during the year and then save up my money and then quit and just practice. Yeah. And then it's actually through my commentary that I got to Korea. Because I did that tournament that I described to you earlier on.
Yeah.
And that caught the eye of a company out here. They were making a website called SC for All, because they realized, they did some looking around, because I believe what happened was StarCraft 2 was announced, and they're like, okay, this is an opportunity to grow something if StarCraft 2 catches on.
Yeah.
And this was the guy who ran this company, just brilliant. He owned one of the pro teams, and he owned the broadcasting rights for Pro League and MSL. His company became SPO TV, which is like the biggest sports channel out here. You know, it's like 4 television channels and shit now. It's crazy. So they basically contacted me because I was doing these online commentaries, and Nick was already out there, and they saw that was going pretty successfully. They saw that Team Liquid was like 10 times bigger than the biggest Korean StarCraft website.
Yeah.
So they're like, wait a minute, there's like actual potential here. So they contacted me, and I looked at it in 2008, and I was like, they're like, hey, can you make some videos for our website? And I thought about it. I'm like, I bet you I can get them to fly me to Korea. And my idea, I was like, and I was in really good shape in StarCraft at the time. I had just won the US Open. And like, I was in really good shape. I thought I was going to win WCG USA that year and, you know, start getting it really going. So I'm like, and they own a pro team, and they want me to live in that house. And I'm like, okay, I'll come over. I'll come over. You have to fly me over if you want me to make the content. I'm not going to make it from my house in New Hampshire. And I need a computer to practice on in the basement, because my idea was, I'll get over there, I'll do this work for them, but I'll practice my ass off and run around and get tryouts at pro teams.
I see.
That was my idea.
Okay.
And so they decided to fly me out. And so I started working with them, and I never got a PC, and I had no money, and I couldn't play for months. So
oh my God.
It fell apart. It fell apart, unfortunately. And I didn't do well at WCG USA because I didn't play any StarCraft for 2 months. And yeah.
Did you have to go
that's how I got here.
Or did you just stay?
So I got a round trip ticket from them, a 2-month trial period, because I told them I had to come back because there was WCG USA and BlizzCon were in the same week.
Uh-huh.
And because I was doing a lot more commentary, that was my first big commentary gig was BlizzCon. And then also I had to play WCG USA. So basically they were happy enough with me that they bought me a return ticket to come back. And then
But
I
how
kind
did
of
you
parlayed that.
how did you stay there? Like,
What what do you mean? How did I stay there? I
did
had a
you just
job.
not leave? Like, I mean, how did you
Yeah.
like you eventually like you eventually lived in Korea? So I mean, like at some
Yeah.
point, did you just stay in that basement and like they just didn't kick you out? Like,
Yeah, no, they eventually kicked me out of the pro house, but so I lived in the pro house for over a year.
mhm.
The Eastro Team Pro House. Basically, they also had another guy working on the website with me, Rick, known as Puerto Rican, who's a kind of a figure in the StarCraft scene a little bit, and Hydra, the old pro gamer,
I
lived
know,
there as well. He
yeah.
was on that team.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah, I worked with that company for I think 2 years. I lived with the Eastro Team for over a year, and then eventually had to move out and get my own place because the coach was like, "We want to use that room for something else."
Mhm.
Which is fine because it was gross. They threw all their dirty clothes in there with the foreigners, and
Yeah,
it was gross. I was sleeping on the floor, and like there was not mattresses for all three of us, so it was like whoever went to bed first had something comfortable.
Yep.
It was a bad situation.
People don't know. Like, I have so many stories of like the old team house. Like that's one of those things where it's like, okay, when you're selling a company, you have a thing called disclosures. So disclosures means like you have to tell everything that happened during the time that you were part of that company that could potentially be a liability. And if you don't tell them and they find out later, so they're not going to fuck you over for it. Like during that time, there's like a bunch of contracts. They're like, look, we just want to know. And then we're not going to come after you, or no one's going to come after you. We just need to know. And if we find out later that this is a thing, and then and you didn't tell us, right? Then we come for you. So you have to tell them everything. And I remember sitting in like your stereotypical like New York style, because we got acquired by Madison Square Garden, like your stereotypical New York style office, like big suits. These guys just jaws dropped. Like there was a question like, have you ever been involved with any kind of like violent act or any kind of, and like assuredly like every answer when you're acquiring a company is like no, right? And I'm like, well, there's a couple bodies buried in the backyard, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we kept getting, these cats kept getting run over outside our house, so we buried them behind there, and they're like, what the fuck is this? Like what kind of company are we buying? There were so many things. Like my first day at CLG, Doublelift cooked 2 pounds of bacon in a glass pan and lit the kitchen on fire.
Nice.
That was my first day as CEO. I'm like, I like come in and I'm like, what the fuck? And then like they're like pouring water on it. And I'm like, no, like it's an oil fire. Right? Like people just don't know how the days back then. Like that was some Wild West living, dude. Like team houses it'll never come back because the liability is so high. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's another thing that franchising, like that's probably one of the good things that franchising changed. Like, because some of those houses were next level.
It was living in that little Korean apartment with 17 other young men.
Holy shit.
Was
it that? 17?
Yeah, we had 17 Koreans in the house and then the 3 foreigners. So we had 20 people in the house at one point.
God.
That was the peak.
How many square feet was it around?
Oh, I don't know. It was big for an apartment in Korea, really big for an apartment in Korea.
Yeah, because Korea usually has some pretty small places.
But yeah, there were like bunk beds everywhere. Basically, there was no privacy, none whatsoever. No.
Oh my god, dude! So like, so did you? So once you got your own place, how did you start building out your career in Korea?
Well, okay, yeah. So I mean, the whole time I really wanted to play professionally.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it wasn't working out. I started commentating quite a bit. Like I got the BlizzCon gig. I started picking up some other commentary. I was still working on the website for that company. And then StarCraft 2 was around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had my own place. It was very, very hard to live out there. I just didn't have enough money for anything. Basically, it was
Yeah.
like I was paid really low, but it was like, well, you have to stay here if you want to do this. New Hampshire does not have opportunities for me in what I want to do, so I have to,
100%.
no matter what, I
Yeah.
have to stay. So like StarCraft 2 was coming out, and as soon as the beta came out, like I just skipped work that day and played for 17 hours straight. And I was like up at the top of the ladder, and I was doing real well. I was playing the Korean ladder and the NA ladder, and like really, I was quite good at StarCraft 2 when it came out.
Mhm.
And so I just quit my job. I was like, I've got to. This is my chance. This is, you know, I gotta try to be a pro, and you know, do
Oh,
do it
wow.
now,
Huh.
because that was, so that was probably the most short-sighted thing that I might have ever done, because I had like no money, and then I got signed to a pro team pretty quickly because I was very good.
Mhm.
I made it into like the first GSL I qualified for. I played in the first IEM. I actually beat Huck in that tournament, but it didn't matter because fucking Reapers were imbalanced, so I lost anyways. And
Wait,
you know, it was
Artosis, we said that we're not going to play the game.
Oh, totally true though. But yeah, then like basically I was like really low on money and having a hard time, and then GSL was going to come along basically, and me and Nick were friends, and so he brought me down, and I met with GOM TV, and yeah, they hired us. So then I had a job where I was actually making a billion times. Looking back on it, it was actually really not good pay, but for me at that time, I was
Relative.
like,
Yeah.
I can eat 3 meals every day and make rent. This is so sick.
Damn, dude. So you got officially hired onto GOM, and that was like the time where you and Nick started casting, like the very beginning, right? What year was that around?
Yeah, we did cast a little bit before that together, like BlizzCon. There was an IESF event, I believe, that we casted for the website that I was working for, like a few very small things. Like there was some online cups that we did a couple times. But yeah, that was in 2010, towards the end of 2010, like September 4th, I believe it was. 2010. We just had the 10-year anniversary. It was the first day of GSL, and that's when Nick and I really started working together.
And I feel like a big part. God, this is okay. So this is a total theory. I'm just gonna throw this guess out because I want to like guess first, and then you tell me the truth. Something I've always wondered about it. I feel like at the very first part, a really large reason why you guys were able to do the shit you were able to do is because they just like didn't even like you were the English casting desk, right? Like, and they had the Korean casters as well, and they were like regulated. They like this again. This, I'm just guessing. Like and they like GOM was probably looking at them, but you guys kind of did whatever the fuck you. It really seemed like it, because that was like back in the day where you would get into like a 15-minute conversation about like who the fuck knows what, and I don't think there was anyone in your ear that was like, dude. And I loved it. I thought that was like the best thing ever. So what is the truth of this? I have to know. Like,
yeah, so that's a really good guess. And nowadays, that is how it is, where basically everyone leaves us alone. They trust Nick and Dan to do a good job.
Yeah.
And they just leave us alone. I don't think they watch our stuff. They're just like, yeah, they've been working with us a long time. They're great. Let them go.
They got
it. When we
first
started, every day was a stressful battle. Every fucking day.
Really?
It was crazy. Yes. Some of the people that they had that were like in charge of us had the worst ideas about how to make a show. And we were trying to feel it out as we went, but we battled them consistently. Here's some of the stupid things that happened. First off, when we got hired, we told them we were going to BlizzCon, because like we get our BlizzCon invites, and we're like, we'll be going to BlizzCon. They're like, okay. And then when it came around, the person who we told was like, you never told me that. And we're like, we're going no matter what. It's not. You find fill-ins. We are going.
This is not a negotiation.
Yeah, but. They had all sorts of stupid things that they tried. Well, it was like 1 to 2 people that were supposed to be in charge of us that were just terrible. That were like, for instance, we were told you can't say TeamLiquid.net. That was the community hub.
Yeah,
and we were told
everybody
that we
posting on forums there. That was like that.
That's where all of our viewership came from.
Yeah, 100%.
All of it. Like. And so that was crazy. They were trying to like dress us in really stupid looking stuff, and we're like, no, we're gonna wear these t-shirts and blazers, and that's what it is. They tried
to do that thing with like the shoulder pads. Do you remember that shit?
Oh
Holy
God, yeah.
shit.
No,
That I
not quite
can't
that
believe
bad,
I
but-
remember. Okay, that would have been I never saw you in that. That would have been nuts. They used to have these this was StarCraft that did this, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
It
was StarCraft.
there was a period of time where who did it? They put people in those spaceship suits.
Yeah. It was the very early StarCraft tournament.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if I can find like a Google image of this. This was bananas. Like I'm gonna search StarCraft spacesuits esports.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I found it instantly. Yeah. Okay, it's this. This was it.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
it was it. They had these like shoulder pads or something.
Yeah.
I can't believe we remember this. What happened?
Well, I mean, they eventually figured out that was a stupid way to do it, man, for sure.
Yeah,
But they tried to make them look like spacemen. It was so cringe.
it was brutal. And like they had like the guys in like the cloaks and like they looked like they were commanding starships and stuff. This is like one of those things where there's like some guys around the table that have never played the game that are like, dude, what if we just had them in space shoes? Like we're
it's a space game, right?
It's a space
Get 'em
game,
in
right?
character.
Like, yeah, let's let's get them like more authentic, and like fans will be like, wow, like they look like the characters in the game.
Yeah.
It's a horribly
No,
wrong.
that stuff was comedy.
Yeah, it was StarCraft that I think like introduced some of the most ridiculous ideas that esports has ever had. Right? Like
Oh, we've been the guinea pig for everything because it's like
100%.
it began the very first of esports was basically StarCraft 1, and then the real birth of international esports was StarCraft 2. So I mean, everything's been through StarCraft. I mean, we're just a tattered body at this point that everyone has learned from.
yeah. Or just like experimenting, like cutting out the organs. Like, well, is this gonna
Yeah.
work? Like, oh, that made him go. That made him go
No,
red.
put it back, put it back.
Oh, God. Like, it's like beep. Like, oh my god. Like, just some like fucking like med school surgeon who's half asleep, just like fucking cutting shit out, like trying to figure out what works. Yeah,
We've had that a lot of times.
it got it like. Do you feel like things at this point have normalized? Do you think this stuff is still like do you think this stuff is still innovated in the StarCraft scene, or like how do you think it's going?
I think we were still innovating a lot a few years ago,
Mhm.
and then Blizzard did all the downsizing and got rid of a bunch of the people that were doing the innovating.
Mhm.
Like the most shocking news that I ever woke up to was when Mark Olberts was let go from Blizzard.
Mhm.
Do you know Mark Olberts? Okay, so that guy is maybe the most talented visionary of esports ever.
Really?
He was a very famous German DJ way back. And he's just like loves StarCraft and is like an amazing artistic mind. And he did so much for StarCraft.
Mhm.
Holy God. He was like, I mean, he was at every single event, working on every single aspect, to the smallest thing from fonts up to what the stage looks like to how should commentary teams work together and things. He was the best in the fucking industry, I promise you.
Wow,
I promise
okay.
you that. Like, I have worked with so many people and he was amazing. And then Blizzard's like, oh, time to downsize. Okay, get rid of that guy. And it's like,
You're just like, holy
my
shit.
God, that
Yeah.
was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That was it right there. Wow. But yeah,
Wow.
so
I had no idea. That's crazy.
since that happened, are we innovating? I think that luckily at this point we've gotten into I don't know how we got here, but like now that Blizzard, because they basically fired a bunch of the people that were really good.
Mhm.
And then the thing is they got rid of StarCraft themselves and gave it over to ESL basically to run.
Yeah.
And now that Apollo gets to basically be in charge, Apollo is brilliant.
Mhm.
He is amazing. So I think we're back on the track of being able to innovate and do some new cool stuff. And I think that they've really adapted to the weird COVID situation and gotten us. I think our online leagues are doing pretty well.
Mhm.
People are liking them. So I think that, you know, it's not all darkness and gloom anymore, but there definitely was a period in between those two things where I'm like, nothing.
that's it. Yeah. Are you
Mm.
casting exclusively from your house now? Like, do you go outside?
Oh no,
Are
Yeah,
you back in
yeah.
studio?
we've been in the studio the whole time, the whole year.
The fuck? Really?
Yeah. No, Korea is doing really well as far as countries go with the coronavirus.
Okay,
Like,
so like America is like an actual dumpster fire. So relative, like
mm,
it's very difficult for me to envision. Like we're still like we're hosed. I'm in Seattle,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Seattle's just hosed. It's just like on so many levels. Like it's just like we've had. At one point there was just I don't even know if this I don't know how much like American news hits you or how much you follow.
mm.
At one point we just had a group of people that's like, we're just gonna take this part of the city over, and then
Yeah. No, I heard about that.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and like I actually went there and I streamed there. I ran a stream from there.
Damn.
That's where the meme my Chaz Devin Nash Autonomous Zone comes from. Is like the yeah, it's like, it's so dumb, and they spam this stupid emote, and they're like that's a big smiling face, but like it was so crazy. There's just like a group of people that were just like, yeah, we're just gonna take over this part of the city, and then the police were like, okay. That was the craziest part of
That's
it.
weird.
They're just like, yeah, that sounds good. Like, okay, have fun. And I was like, what? It's just it's so unreal. And then you look at like South Korea, and they're like, yeah, so we had some like crazy religious people spread it around. Then we told them to stop, and they did. And now we're good.
Pretty much. But our second really big outbreak was crazy people again from a church that spread it everywhere again. So we did have a second big spike where it went back up to level 2.5 lockdown.
What's that?
But level 2.5 is basically if you can work from home, you must.
Mhm.
Cafes are takeout only. Restaurants are takeout only after 9 p.m. Bars are closed. Clubs are closed. No public gatherings, that type of thing. Level 3 is where shit hits the fan, and I would have to work from home.
Mhm.
But we've never hit level 3. We've been at 2.5 twice for maybe a total of a month this year because COVID hit us in January. So yeah, overall it's been fine. Like we've been in studio the whole time. We don't have fans there, but yeah, the players are there, the staff is there. We're casting from there, so it's been pretty normal actually for us.
That's actually awesome. See, America's been 2.5 forever. Like we've just been. That's how it is. Bars closed. Like it depends on your city a little bit. I mean, if you go far south enough, it's just like nothing's different. But like here in like the West Coast, people take it really seriously, and like everybody's like super hardcore. But that's actually crazy to hear because I remember, dude, Korea has the coolest like news stories. At one point, like the biggest thing in Korea a couple years ago was like that the fucking prime minister had been taken over by like a spellcaster or something, like some fucking wizard. Like I was like, dude, this is hardcore. It's awesome. Like there's
that
like
was crazy.
Yeah, you could legitimately like go on Wikipedia and find like a shaman mind controlled some political figure for something to happen.
Yeah, that's basically a true story. You basically nailed it there. The president is in the president that was the president at that time. She's in jail now, and because she was letting a shaman tell her what to do with the government. It's
that's like some Shadowrun shit. That is insane.
It is crazy.
God,
it is wild.
Have you must have also like fallen in love with the culture too, like to want to stay there. So do you speak Korean now? You must, right? Like
I speak enough to live here, but I'm not like conversationally fluent. It's yeah, like I feel like I should be better, and everyone tells me I should be better, but honestly, I think it comes down heavily to priorities as well. I work like really hard at my job, and
yeah.
I don't put as much time into Korean. Like I get around, I'm fine, right? Like it's actually not hard for me to live here at all, but to sit down and have like a long form conversation with someone, I can't really do it.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's a matter of priorities. You've just focused on like really. So do you spend this is something that like I ask like everybody I can do you spend a lot of time like actually deliberately improving at your job even now?
So deliberately improving at casting, like I don't practice casting into the mirror very much.
Did you before?
Sometimes I will kind of cast like because the actual casting thing, you almost have to do it to get better at it, but I do practice a little bit sometimes where sometimes like for instance I'll be watching a broadcast and I'll think, oh, I don't like how this commentator is doing this, and I'll mute it and I'll start commentating just for a few minutes.
That's awesome.
And I'll be like, how does that feel? Is that yeah, okay, I like that. So occasionally I do something like that, but it's a lot about studying the game and knowing what's going on, making sure I've caught up on VODs and know how people are playing and things like that.
Wow. What do you think? So, like, you're one of these people that everything you've tried to do in your life that you've devoted like a significant amount of time to, you've been pretty fucking good at. Like you're pro level in StarCraft in both places. You're pro level at casting, which is an entirely different skill set. What is like? What are the factors that you attribute that to? I noticed that you have we have a whole team of people that do, like, by a team I mean it's like 2 guys, but they're really good and like what they do research on, like, people that I talk to, right? And they noticed something really interesting, that you have a book list on self-improvement that you maintain, and I actually have read a huge number of those books, and I'm actually going to link this list for. It's called Artosis's List of Books for Improving, and I sorry, this is like a super interviewee question, but I'm just like really fascinated. Like it's like, what is the impetus for this attitude? Like how did you get this, and like how do you think about this? I read a lot of these books. The idea of self-improvement and the idea of investing in this. Why is that? It's kind of,
yeah. I kind of have an obsessive. I'm obsessive about things, I guess. Like I find something I like, and that is what I do. So there's been like maybe 6 or 7 different things in my life where I am completely focused on. It's the only thing in my life, basically, is what happens. And so I work really hard on it, and eventually I figure things out. Like, I should read these books. Like, for instance, let's see. When I was a young kid, I wanted to be in the NBA, so I did nothing but play basketball until I could not see the ball bouncing off the backboard and hitting me in the head, right? So I like did only that. Then later on, I broke my ankle and got really heavily into Magic and StarCraft and did only that. We're still pretty much in that phase with StarCraft, but and same with commentary and everything. So I just kind of, I don't know, I work really hard and tirelessly on these things because I find things that I'm really into. This is kind of like the thing that people don't get. It's like I work really, really, really hard. I put in a ton of hours and a ton of effort, but it's because I want to. I'm not like, this is not like some painful chore for the most part.
Oh yeah,
like I read those books.
Yeah,
I read those books because I want to improve and I'm interested in it. And I play a lot of StarCraft because I want to get better at it.
Right.
And I watch a lot of StarCraft because I want to get better at it. Yeah. And I try to make, my commentary good because I want to commentate. And so it's like I'm not forcing myself into any of these.
A lot of
people.
If you want
to,
Sorry, please. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, if like, I mean, I'm very good at working hard, so like I guess I could be a chemist, but I don't want to work hard at that, so I'm not going to be a chemist.
A lot of people, they I think one of the like number one criticisms of the casting Archon is always like, these guys have been doing this so long, like they must be tired of this shit, like, they're like not as excited. It's like and it's because you see that happen so often in esports. Like in League of Legends, dude, you have these like broadcasters that are like, they started streaming League of Legends. I was this guy. When I started on Twitch in like 2008, is that right, chat? We've been here for, no, that's not right. 2012. Yeah, 2012 is when I started on Twitch. When I started there, I was a full-time League of Legends player, if you can believe that. And I like did like the Doctor Strange like meditation time stone thing and looked at all of the possible timelines and like saw where I was going, right? Which was like inevitably into this like downward spiral of like existential dread, being stuck playing this one game and that being my brand. And like with League of Legends, it was, I was like, I have to get out. And so I switched to Variety, lost 90% of my audience, and like the rest is history, and like had to like rebuild from the ground up. But I've seen a lot of people in League, they started there and they stuck with it. They built these brands and they cannot escape. And it has become this like anchor on them that they drag around, and like they're just slowly going insane. And I don't think that that happens with StarCraft in the same way. I think it's different because StarCraft is this always evolving game, and like that 1v1 aspect, like we talked about, is this constant source of self improvement. I haven't seen your passion fade at all over all the years. It's really inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it as much now as I really kind of ever have, I guess. I'm especially into playing StarCraft 1 at the moment. Like my attention can shift slightly. And I've done other games. Like I was really into Hearthstone for a bit. I was really into Heroes of the Storm for a bit.
Yeah.
And I just kind of follow what I feel like doing at a given moment.
Mhm.
You know, it really helps. And the thing is, I love StarCraft, but it's not like I'm attached to the StarCraft universe
Mhm.
or the storyline or anything like that. If there's a better RTS, that is what I will be playing because I like RTS games,
Sure.
and that's where it's at. It's like it's just something I want to do forever. StarCraft is a lot like chess like that.
Mhm.
You know, you don't.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't think anyone's telling that Ikaru guy that he needs to broaden himself to other games, right?
Hey, dude, chess is kind of outplayed. You know, it's been like 800
Yeah.
years. Like, come
Dead
on,
game.
like we figured this out in like the Victorian era, dude. Like, get over it. Like, yeah, it's like nobody's saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and
Mhm.
StarCraft is timeless like this, where
Mhm.
it's like this is infinitely deep. There's a reason why why DeepMind went from chess to go to StarCraft.
Yes.
There's a reason for that because this is the hardest game. It's the deepest game. It's crazy. And so it can catch you and keep you for life, I think. Like as far as I can tell, my interest is not waning.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I love too how like AI has met its challenge with StarCraft too. Like, whereas like you know it figured out Dota, it beat like the best teams because like, oh, I just play Shadow Fiend and fucking spam E, you know. It's like, and then I'm like, you know, it just like figured it out. Whereas like with StarCraft, like the fucking computer's like, fuck, like, oh man, this is hard. Like, there's so many paths and so many places to go. Yeah, we tend to think of games as like they have this like fuse to them, but there's like StarCraft is one of those games, and RTS is one of those genres that just doesn't have that kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you're just saying that like you kind of just like were led to hear about these books and read them just by virtue of the fact that you wanted to improve? Were they attached to the game, or is it your personal life that you wanted to?
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely StarCraft related. I guess what got me started on reading this type of books, I just happened to pick up the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell many years ago. And when I read about the 10,000 hour rule, because Nick and I always kind of wondered, like, why are we over here? Why are we successful? Like, what is it? What is different about us that we're the ones over here doing this and we're leading these kind of, you know, successful lives considering the industry that we're in. And we both read Outliers, and that whole 10,000 hour rule, I was like, everything clicked. I'm like, oh, I've put so much time. I put way over 10,000 hours into StarCraft at that point.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I know this so well. And like,
you've got it. Yeah.
You know, and then because I read that, I got interested in things like deliberate practice. And so that led me down this rabbit hole that I'm in with these books, where it's like, okay, now read this and now read this. And a lot of times these books will reference other books, and I buy that book and read that book. And eventually, you know, I start getting out on the edge where it's like, oh, how do we develop mindset? Okay, we got to read some philosophy books. And, you know, all of it is actually kind of connected and works together. And all of these books, like, everything is really the same in a lot of ways. And this is why playing StarCraft is so useful, because I can apply how I get better at StarCraft and how I learn in StarCraft and how I think in StarCraft to absolutely everything else. And that's like kind of how I go about things when I've done other games. Like when I want to commentate something else, I go down my own rabbit hole. I don't study what other people say or what other people do. Like, for instance, I never played MOBA games at all. And then Here's the Storm came out and I wanted to play. And a lot of people offered to teach me MOBAs so that I could commentate it. But I was like, no. So I spent a year playing it like 10 hours a day and got to the top rank on the ladder. And I was like, okay, now I understand. Now I get it. It's like, and then I could commentate it well, you know? And I don't know. That's just like, I'm always down for that. Like I play games to improve.
Yeah.
I don't play very much of anything for fun. There's other things I can do for fun.
Interesting. What do you do for fun?
Oh, well, I will let you know in about 17 years when all my kids are out of the house,
Got
because
it.
right now there's
That
not
is
a
your
whole lot
life.
of that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. I read some, play with the kids. I don't know. I don't have very much free time at all right now, and a lot of the things I do for fun is things like reading books that help me in StarCraft. I enjoy that.
Awesome. That's really cool. And so a lot of this was connected to the game. Has it had impact on your personal life as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think just reading widely is probably the best thing you can do for
100%.
yourself as a person.
Yeah.
It's like between that and probably exercise,
Yeah.
eating well, just reading widely just makes you better. Like I am such a clearer thinker than I used to be. It's not even close. If you look at like the thing is, I always read a lot, but it used to be all fiction that I read. I read very few
Fantasy.
nonfiction books before moving to Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantasy books and science fiction books, and I still read a little bit of that.
Mhm.
But nowadays it's mostly these other books that are like kind of bigger ideas and teaching you about things like how to get better, and that definitely it just these aren't these books that we're talking about. I'm sure some people are looking at this like, oh, self-help books. No, that's not what this is. This
Yeah.
is not what this is. These are like the guy who's the best tennis coach wrote a book on mindset and how to make yourself learn things. And it's like, yes, that book makes you better.
Deep Work is
Absolutely
like
that.
is by a scientist who's like very famous for like flow state. Art of Learning is Josh Waitzkin, chess master and Tai Chi master. Bruce Lee, obvious. Principles is Ray Dalio, one of the best investors in the world. This is probably the best and most comprehensive list of like if I wanted to be very, very good at an esport, these are the books that I would read. Yeah, this is actually
Absolutely.
it. And it's good that I know that you have this now because I will now link this to people. and what you should do, Artos, is you need to hit the return button below list of books for improving and put http://twitch.tv/Artosis.
Oh, yeah,
Because
that's a good idea.
yeah, because you would
Do
be you'd be surprised. Do you know a guy named Deathsea?
No.
Deathsea is the #1 draft player right now for Magic the Gathering Arena online.
Oh, okay.
And well, #1, some people are like, actually, but you know, like he's like very high ranked, top 3 all the time, like very good. I think he's the best draft player in the game. He has a thing called the Deathsea tier list that we can just like Google right now. And it'll pull it up. This is and I'm gonna take a huge credit for this because I gave him the idea for this. Like he has a bunch of stuff here, like a fat like link to his like Twitch everywhere on the Deathsea tier list. This isn't actually his tier list. That's like somebody reposted it, I guess, which is interesting. But if we go to like Deathsea.com, he should have like a bunch of references to his Twitch, and the amount of people that he has gotten as a result of doing this tier list, it's just like for each set, what Magic cards are the best, right? That's what it is. It's like that's it. And so many like hundreds of thousands of people have found him that you'd be surprised. Like just putting a little Twitch link there, man. It's an enormous difference. It's huge.
I'll
There's,
definitely do
yeah,
that. That's a
Twitter,
great idea.
Twitch, YouTube. Yeah. People check it
This
out.
is why I watch your videos, man. You are
Thank
full of these
you.
little things that I just like. I can't even think about those types of things. It's beyond what I think about. You know, that's great, though.
There's a lot of building a brand, and this is a kind of probably a good segue because I want to talk about your brand and I want to learn about your goals. Because I can't just like suck esports. Like I sucking it in. Like I love it, but like I want to provide some value too. Like But this is one of the things about like building a brand that's so interesting is like when you I have a quote. I don't know who it's from. Probably some smart guy. If you want to be an anomaly, you have to act like one.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I think what it means to me in the context of like brand building is that when you try to do something that everyone else is doing, you're usually going to fail by virtue that you're just going to get canceled out because of all the noise. You have to be doing something that everyone doesn't think to do. And that's like a very obvious thing to say. But in practice, it becomes very, very difficult to do. So I'll give you like a direct example right now. What if I told you that right now, and this is like my genuine opinion, that like one of the absolute best places to build your brand, even if you're a gaming brand, is LinkedIn.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And you'd be like, that's fucking crazy, Devin. Like, you're an idiot. Like, that's nuts, right? Well, you wouldn't say that because you're a nice guy, but like lots of people say that to me every day. And it's like, well, why would, but then you break it down, and then like someone like you will actually be like, wait, I've read these books and I'll figure out why he said that, right? And you'll analyze it, and you'll be like, wait a minute, okay. There are 60 million people every day that go onto LinkedIn. That's 3 times the number of people that go on Twitch.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. But how many content creators are there? Fucking nobody, right? Like nobody's making content for LinkedIn. Now the perception is, well, Devin, like the only people that go to LinkedIn are people that want jobs. And that's why they're there. But people that are interested in something like gaming don't turn off because they're on another website. They're still that person. If they see an interesting article, they'll click it. If they see an interesting video, they'll click it. And so the ratio, and at the same time, you look at like LinkedIn as a platform and what they're trying to do. They are desperately trying to create a ecosystem of content creation to keep people on the website for longer. So for the very few people that will post something on LinkedIn, they are incentivizing the shit out of it. They blast that stuff out. I've got friends that have 0 following on LinkedIn. They got 500,000 views on their first post.
Damn.
Unbelievable, right? Like just because like that's how desperate LinkedIn is for. But like, so it's like one thing for me to tell people, and I can say something like some nomenclature, like, yo, you should, do stuff that's different. And people go, yeah, but then I go, you should be on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I'd get around to that, but I don't think, and that's them not being an anomaly. Like in the same time, I tell Twitch streamers, right? The number one thing you should do to grow your brand is be on YouTube. You'd be spending more time on YouTube if you're interested in growing a brand than you spend on Twitch, because Twitch has no discovery. There is nothing built in. But YouTube does, and there's 200 users on YouTube for every 1 user that's on Twitch.
Damn, that's crazy.
It's nuts.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I heard you say that about YouTube actually. So I'm trying to resuscitate my dead YouTube channel. So that's something I've been working on a lot lately.
We're gonna talk about that hopefully. I want to talk about that today. But why don't we start by like, what do you want to do? what is your brand like right now, and what in like a very perfect world would you want it to be?
What is my brand right now? It's a
deep question.
I don't know. I think I'm perceived as like the StarCraft guy.
Okay.
Even though I've done multiple games and stuff, I'm like so intertwined with StarCraft. Yeah, like the thing is, I feel like I am more than that. Of course, I think that everyone probably gets cut down into something that's like a small piece of who they are. Because I'm more about like I like to play hard games that are hard to get good at, that are single player, that are not team games and stuff, and like really work on those. Very rarely do I play other ones, but yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I want my brand to just be who I am. I think it's too tiring, people that put on a show, people that like change who they are. And like, I don't want to, it's like, yeah, I am me. I'm real. I'm not a fucking phony. I cannot stand the amount of phonies that there are in esports. It just, people will do and say anything to be famous in this industry. And it's like, I do not want to even be involved with that. I have no interest whatsoever. I'm going to be me. And if people don't like it and I can't get hired or I can't, make a living, I'll go do something else because I am just not interested in
the price to pay of being fake is not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know. I hope that answers your question. If you have more, let me know.
I do. Yeah, I do. So I have so much more. Okay, like because we have to qualify it. But I have to understand like completely what direction you want to go before I can like even provide anything that would be valuable, right? Because if I don't know that, so Is that to say that you would like to have like a YouTube or a presence that covers hard games? Would you want to diversify? Would you want to like what kind of what's
Basically,
your thinking on that?
yeah, things that I like. So, for instance, I'm going to be trying out AoE 2. I'm going to
Okay.
put in a bunch of hours to AoE 2. I've actually never played. I played it for the first time on stream the other day, and then a bunch of people contacted me. The AoE 2 scene is like super supportive and stuff, and gave me a bunch of links. So I started looking, and I'm like, I should actually put some hours into this and see if I like it. Because with RTS, you have to do that. You can't just play it for
Mhm.
2 minutes and decide, because you actually have to learn. I feel like you have to spend like 20 hours on an RTS before you even start to decide if you really like it or not, unless it's
Seriously.
complete
At
garbage.
least that. At least that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So like, but I only want to do things that I like games that I like. People ask me all the time about, oh, are you gonna like stream such and such a game that every single person on Twitch is streaming? Valorant, Artosis, are you gonna do some Valorant?
Mhm.
Like, no, I am not going to do some Valorant. That is not going to happen. Absolutely not. Yeah, and I guess like overall my goal right now, like I think it was in April I started streaming more, like putting in effort on
Mhm.
my stream, because I was like kind of low key streaming since Brood War came out again. Like I streamed a lot way back with Hearthstone,
Okay.
and then got some big deal on another fucking thing that went to hell. So I lost my whole following and quit streaming for a long time. Came back with Brood War, did some streaming just lightly, but now the way I look at it, I want to switch. So things like content creation and streaming have always just been something I do for fun, and commentary has been my main gig.
Okay.
I want to switch that now.
Okay.
I want to switch it so that my content creation is my main gig and commentary I do for fun, because I'm really tired of the way the industry operates around commentators. It's fucking terrible. And I don't want these people in control of my life anymore. I want to control my own life. I'm sick of uh arguing with someone who brags about spending $100,000 on the lights on the stage over a couple $1,000s for my payment.
Yeah.
I'm super done with people deciding my life and how much money I make, and
Yep.
sometimes inviting me, sometimes not inviting me to an event, and having that affect my year and my income and my, I'm done with that. So yeah, I want to basically switch around where and to make this clear, I'm still going to commentate. I love
Of
to
course.
commentate.
Mhm.
I feel like that's what I'm best at, and I still want to do it, but I don't want it to be what I rely on completely. I want to be able to rely on my other content creation and then commentate, because I like to commentate.
Okay. What does that look like to you? Like what does that kind of consecration brand look like to you in your
Yeah,
vision?
that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
That's what
So
we can
it's
help with.
been, yeah, I guess like in April, as I mentioned, I think is when I started picking up the streaming hours, working a little bit more diligently, making sure I don't miss days and stuff. And then more recently, maybe 2 months ago, I started watching some of your videos, some of Harris Heller's videos, and realizing there's a lot more to all of this.
Mhm.
So I've been like kind of expanding my brain on it. I'm still in like this phase where I'm just gathering information.
Okay.
For me, in this, like I look at it like I would look at a video game, where like in a new game on like StarCraft 2 when it came out, when I switched over to Heroes of the Storm for a while, what I'm going to do with AoE 2, I'm just mass laddering right now.
Okay.
I'm just gathering a
Okay. That
ton
makes
of
sense to me.
information.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just putting shit out there, watching how it goes, and adjusting in my brain all the little levers, right? Where it's like, okay, is this something people want to watch? Is this something people want to watch?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, where I'm just gathering information, and like nothing is set in stone, nothing is exact. It's like I am making improvements here and there and just adjusting things and seeing how that does. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I want to draw a corollary here. My friend Zizarin, do you know who he is?
I don't think so.
He's like the prominent Path of Exile duder. He's like, so Zizarin, I think you and Zizarin have the most in common on your career paths, and he is a guy that I think you might want to study a little bit because he's sort of like 6 months or to a year ahead of like where I think you'll end up, which is like, so Zizaran had this issue. It's probably longer ago, probably like a year and a half or 2 years ago, where like, this is the way that Path of Exile works. Okay. So it's like Path of Exile releases a league. The game like spikes like super hard. Everybody plays it. And they basically like Path of Exile is like, you've got these like developers chained to a desk somewhere in New Zealand or wherever the fuck they're from. They're not from New Zealand. Where are they from? Where was Grinding Gear Games out of? Some European country. And like they're just working away, dude. In like 3 months on the dot, like a fucking league comes out. Like, it's basically an expansion to the game, and they do this on the clock every 3 months. It's amazing. But it's led to this development cycle where like everybody plays the game for the duration of that league, and then after about a month or two, the game just drops off like a rock, right? Now that's problem number one. Problem number two is that you've got a lot of people doing the same thing, which is like playing the game at a very high level and streaming it, and so the competition and saturation is very very high, and the genre of game is called an ARPG, so it's an action RPG, and this is like the Diablo genre or like Wolcen or Lost Ark type of games. So Zizaran was running into a problem where number one, his viewership would drop off a shit ton at the end of leagues, but number two, he had this problem where he was kind of the same as everyone else that was streaming, and there wasn't like a very like big, I guess what we would call it in business is like USP, unique selling point. What makes you different from other people, right? He's a great broadcaster, but there's a lot of great broadcasters. So we started like he came to me and like, this is, by the way, a lot of this is like initiated by him. I'm a small part of this, but I've just had these conversations with him and said like, you know, what do we think we should do? And we developed a YouTube focused strategy where he made videos that were informative and guide based. Path of Exile is a very hard game like StarCraft. That's why, again, I think there's just like a 1-to-1 corollary here between both of you. But his mission is to become the authority on a certain genre of game, so that when Diablo 4 comes out, he owns it and he's got 30 to 40K viewers. And I genuinely think he'll do it. And the way he's going to do it is he's building brand equity on YouTube. So let's say Wolcen comes out. He will have 50 fucking videos about Wolcen. Here are the best builds. Here are the best things to do. And like he's building that equity as a broad broad authority on a certain type of game. Okay. And so people trust him with it. So that when if you look at people like Kripparrian and a lot of like the former like really heavy hitting people in games like Hearthstone, right? Or like games like Diablo 2 or Diablo 3, they were this. It's like when a game comes out, they want to go see the authority on that game. So like if StarCraft 2 gets an update, you're it, right? Like that's where people go. Yeah. You'll see your viewership spike like a huge amount. I think one thing to start putting into your head is how you be that authority for games that you know you really like to play.
That's definitely something that like I have kind of thought about that. And the thing is, I want to play more RTSs, and I think I get lumped in with StarCraft because other RTSs are bad, and we just don't have anything good coming out. So like a new RTS will come out, and I'll try it on stream sometimes for like an hour, and then I'll just boot up Brood War again, and I'll be like, I don't know, guys. No one knows how to make an RTS game. It's really sad. It's just, you know. So like definitely, if another good RTS comes out, I will be all over that thing. But we need a good RTS game to come out, this is part of the reason why I'm trying AoE 2. I want to see, like, I might actually really like that game. It looks pretty deep and pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, but
I think the problem is that, and this is the challenge that like you do have with someone like Zizaran, right? There's a healthy enough base of ARPGs that are coming out that like he can reliably count on a game coming out at least like once a year that's going to like like tick him up, and probably even more than that. And plus, with the Path of Exile release schedule, he has this sort of constant content coming in. That's the challenge that you need to overcome. It's like okay, so it may not be RTS where you live because entirely, right? Like you can own RTS, but I think like you need to broaden even further than that. If there's, and just like think about this, because you've mentioned that, and this translates really well, that like you are super real, and I know you won't play. So it's like, I'm not like Artosis is now the fucking Fortnite. Like, you want to know how to build shit? Like, he's your guy. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not authentic to you, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine. But we have to find that what's the word? That muse that can like keep you like, because like it's RTS. It's going to be like, it's been 25 years. A game is coming. I'm 75. You know, like, thank God. It's not enough. Like, it's like, if your goal is to become a full-time content creator, you will succeed and you will make income, full-time income on StarCraft, but you will limit your upward momentum and your scale, and you're also in danger of the eggs in a basket thing. Which I don't like any content creator to be in that position. Yeah,
I do hate the all eggs in one basket type.
No matter how much you love it, it's just not a place you want to be.
It makes you too reliant. That's why I'm kind of trying to make content creation a big part of.
Yeah, I sense that.
My income, because it's like, I'm super done with people telling me whether they're going to hire me or not, and then deciding. That's like so stupid.
And you know, the funny thing is too, and this is something I tell a lot of people, is like, your ability to get hired in those positions and your leverage in those conversations is actually directly relevant to your brand. And I tell this to so many esports pros and things like that. Like and a really simple way to put this, the conversation you're going to have with an esports team, if you have 1 million followers on Twitter versus if you have 10,000 or 1,000, is a totally different conversation. It's like a night and day conversation.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like pricing, leverage, contract options, sponsors, long-term benefits, potentially equity, even like look at like Bjergsen, people that have like investment in TSM, because that's the difference between him and other players is 2 million followers on Twitter, right? Like a dedicated brand. That cannot be underestimated. So in a really strange way, focusing on content creation will actually make your casting career infinitely better.
Yeah, and it's not that my casting career is bad.
No, you're the best of the best. Like
I
know.
I get hired.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I just don't want to come off as complain like, "Oh, Artosis, you have it so hard, boo-hoo." It's like, no, I don't have it. I have it better than like everyone else. But at the same time, I realize how broken a big chunk of the system is with how everything gets done, and I don't want to have to put up with that. It's just not, it doesn't seem intelligent. But yeah.
Yep.
I really like your assessment about it though, that Zizaran guy. It sounds really intelligent. It's just there's not really anything regular happening within the genre, right? Like, we have the tournaments and I cast those, and that's the exciting thing, but that's not building any of my content for the most part, you know?
This is the soul searching part, right? Like I think it comes down. So you're a self-improvement guy, so I can like talk to you about this. Have you ever read Tim Ferriss?
Oh yeah, all of his books.
I love
He's great.
It. Oh my God. Oh, my heart. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, this is a huge part of my life. So I'm gonna send you something. It's called the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So what he did was he authored up this list of like really critical questions. I'm gonna pull it up right now. And so it's stuff like, what are 20% of the activities and people that are producing 80% of what I want? What are 20% of the activities and people that are producing 80% of my problems? I actually added a few too. Like, what was the greatest positive and negative impact on my life in the last month, right? And I'll just send this to you. Hopefully it's valuable. And like,
yeah, that's great.
I think asking these kind of really critical questions about your content is where you need to go. And like, and like finding out, it's like, okay, what are like, if I could be regarded as like an authority on like a particular genre of game, what would it be? And like, how does that look? And like painting that picture. And so I can give you context of this because I did this, right? Like when I started in this whole industry thing for me started last year, basically. Like we were looking over it on the stream, and shit, man, like I had 1K followers on YouTube last year at the beginning of 2020, right? Like,
Damn.
like my goal was 10K. I thought that would be amazing. And like now we're closing in on 100. And that happened because I did this kind of like introspection, and I said, okay, I think that there is a real hole in the industry after John passed away, after Total Biscuit passed away. And I think that there is nobody that is really, really covering like the gaming industry from a analytical industry standpoint. I'm gonna be that guy. And then I set all my content out to be like that. Didn't play any video games. I just did that, right? Like my daily show was just going over that stuff. And like you catch a few major waves, like Twitch does some update or an esports team does something stupid, and you're on it, and there you are. That's the kind of like, and so hopefully, like, hopefully this is like painting a sort of picture of like how you start putting together these puzzle pieces to figure this out. Because once you have that, you can develop a strategy.
Yeah, you actually kind of gave me a bit of an idea here, because I keep like a lot of notebooks where I write all of my ideas down, because you forget everything if you try to keep it in your head. And so I've been writing down various content ideas for a while now, a couple months basically since I started watching you in Paris. And actually, you've kind of given me an idea on one of them where I'm like, oh, that's actually the thing I'm most interested in is this one thing. Like and part of the reason I read a lot of those books, for instance, is things like deliberate practice and how to actually improve. I'm actually more interested in those than games themselves for the most part.
100%. Yeah, like, dude, I'm yeah.
So that's like that kind of gives me an idea of some ways I could try to take it.
Okay, that's good. And then I think once you do that, luckily, like, even if we don't know that, I can already like tell you some of the places where you're gonna want to focus. Like the obvious one is YouTube. And the reason because of that is because you are a very analytical mind, which sets you to doing informative content that people are going to get very high amounts of benefit from and that nobody else can deliver on. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, analytical content, like, you hear him.
That's
the
great,
door just opened. He'll be quiet singing.
I don't care. I love it.
Yeah. So like analytical content within StarCraft does the worst out of everything. Like if I analyze games, like for instance, I made a show for a little bit with my buddy No Regret where it was called In Depth, and we analyzed we got the best replays literally from GSL and stuff because I have the connections, and we got these replays, we went over them, and people just kind of lose interest in it. It's like only the very most hardcore people want to watch. And it's like, I don't know, it's just it doesn't capture people to do constant analyzing. And also, like I mentioned with the day, night, and daily stuff, it's like even though I love to analyze things, I can't do it super regularly because it becomes tedious to me, because it's not like I love to analyze a game, but like I'll analyze a game and then be like, okay, now I'm gonna go learn other stuff and be able to look at this game in a different way now rather than analyze 100 games this way.
So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between the difference between analytics and informative content. So analytics being like we take a game, we piece it together, and through that you learn, versus like a YouTube, like let's look at YouTube titles. So like a game like that might be like analysis between X and YZ player PVZ. But an informative guide would be like the best build to build as Protoss right now and why. Right. Yeah. Like your title might be like you with like I'm just like going extreme, right? Like you with a face like this, and it's like Colossi are so OP, right? Like, but that's the kind of content. Like if you see someone that's like fucking killing it, like I look over at like League of Legends, and you look at like someone like Nightblue, right, who has like a really successful League of Legends channel, and you look at like why this works, the kind of content that he's doing, right? Like insane Nexus save versus trash talkers. I can't believe we won this game. We turned it around, right? no one is safe around the blue cane, right? Like this monkey jungle is bananas. Actually, top tier title. Rengar's easy, LOL, right? Like, this is like, and by the way, like once you click on this, it's just him streaming. It's just his fucking VODs, right? Basically, but
oh wow,
but like I've done enough now to realize that literally, and I'm not like overstating this. 90% of the content you do on YouTube and its success is title and thumbnail, straight up. That's it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've been learning very painfully.
It's a very painful process. I've been going through the same process.
Yeah.
So when I say like informative stuff, I mean this, right? Like I mean like there's a way to deliver the content. Actually, okay, maybe this will be really helpful. And just stop me at any time if you're like this guy's going crazy.
No.
One of my biggest challenges with business and industry shit was like, how the fuck do you make this interesting? Because like if I come in and I'm like, oh, well, Twitch has grown 2.7%, and by the variables that means that there are 50 broadcasters on the like, you know, and I just like there's a way to present what I do it with like in like a college professor level. There's also a way to present what I do in a very engaging and like I think great people that are good at something, they explain something in a way that everybody loves to hear about it, no matter how technical it might be. Neil deGrasse Tyson with astrophysics, Hassan Abi with politics, right? Like they managed to translate it. That's a muse that I think you haven't entirely tapped into yet, and would be very valuable for you because you already have the fucking skills. You're so funny, you're so entertaining. Like if you if like actually fuck, this is like just coming to me, right? This is like but like if you like cast a YouTube video in the sense that like you deliver it in the same way with that same energy, and then you cast an informative thing, title it and thumbnail it correctly, I think that shit would be crazy. It would blow up.
Like just a regular broadcast,
whatever you're doing, like
podcast?
a fucking game or something, like you're playing a Protoss match and like you have a really good stalker run, or you know, or you're just like the craziest Zerg rush I've ever stopped, right? Like, and you're always going as extreme as possible. Like, obviously, it's not the craziest one. Like, you've played 50,000 games, but the audience needs to, like, you mentioned at the beginning of this, right? And I was, if I'm looking over here, it means I'm taking a lot of notes. Like, you mentioned at the beginning of this, you said that it's really important to tailor your casting to your audience.
Yes.
Right. Well, in the same way, it's really important to tailor your content to your audience. And I think you have like an actual leg up over almost any content creator, but the energy that you bring to your current YouTube isn't the same energy that you bring to your casting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something to think about there.
Yeah, totally. It's, well, right now on my YouTube, my YouTube is in kind of a funny spot because it has like technically a lot of followers, but that's all from 10 years ago almost, or 8 years ago when I first made it. Like a big chunk of that is from back then. It has certainly grown in the last year to two. And like, but okay, so basically I watched a bunch of your stuff about how you should build your YouTube. And so I hired someone, nice username, who's this fantastic person within the scene, who's just like, he's great. And so right now we're just like putting on mass content, just putting on mass videos. These are like VODs from good games and stuff.
Okay.
And we've done a little bit of other stuff. And the thing is, I feel like the next step, because right here, this is kind of like the mass laddering stage that I was talking about, where we're just gathering information, like what thumbnails look good, what titles look good, what types of games are people going to want to see? Like, I don't think the future is going to be just like this, you know, game printer goes burr type thing where it's just like all this stuff gets uploaded. But more like more creative content. But the thing is, like, finding the time to do that, right, is where I have it hard, where it's tough because like I think that I need to be like putting full-time effort into Stream plus YouTube right now, but I have my commentary gig, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm commentating a lot, which makes it very difficult. Like this week I'm commentating 5 days.
Shit.
And each time I commentate, it's at least 7 hours out of my day.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's an energetic investment too.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy, and it's
Yeah.
at nighttime. Like I'll leave normally around 4, and I'll get home maybe 11. Last night I didn't get home till 12:30 because we had a bunch of long Terran versus Terrans. Whatever, that happens. So it's like it's hard to put that time and energy in. I feel like I have some good ideas, and you're giving me some really good ideas here to add into it. It's just like I don't know. It's hard to balance all of it at once and continue the improvement and put out the quality that I want to put out and be creative like I want to be, I guess.
So you mentioned using somebody on YouTube to do this. The only way you're going to be able to do this is 2 ways, right? This is luckily a pretty common problem, but it's a little bit different. I like you because you have a job. And I also have a job. And that makes us friends because most of the time people on this platform don't have jobs. Their job is streaming and content creation. So I had the same problem as you. My full-time job is working for an agency, right? I run an agency and I like, help broadcasters and things like that. And like we have like a team, and then we also do the whole brand side. And it's a lot of work. It's like a shitload of work. So how do you do a consistent YouTube and a consistent stream in addition to something like that, where you have like a 7 to 8 hour commitment at least 5 days a week, which I have as well, right? And the first answer is help. So I'm going to tell you right away, like the strategy that I used. So I created a Discord community that's a private group called The Lab. And what The Lab is it is a invite only group of people that are paid for them. Are they all paid now? Yeah, we pay everybody there. It wasn't always like that. Some people were semi-volunteer, but anybody that did work for the channel was always paid. The exchange is like you get money and you get everything that I have to offer in terms of expertise or connections or industry stuff. Several people have gone on to have like jobs there and things like that. This is all stuff that you can offer as well. And those people are combinations of graphics designers, thumbnail editors, YouTubers at varying levels, and some of them are very good, and some of them are just learning. And it ends up being like 5 to 10 people at any given time. But it's a team dedicated to helping you build your brand. And they will take care of YouTube stuff. They'll figure that out. They will take care of like your thumbnails and your design, and you'll be there kind of just like overseeing it and making sure that stuff looks good. But everybody's learning together. I think building a community like that for someone that has the obligations that you have, because add 4 kids to that whole mix that you just said, right?
Yeah, that's the other part.
It's an enormous investment. So the only way you're going to get there is delegation, and I recommend leveraging your community for that. The second piece of it, I think, is utilizing what you're already doing, and this is something you're already doing. You stream already,
yes.
So you have a consistent 4 hours of content, or 5 hours of content, or 6 hours of content.
Typically, I do 20 hours of streaming StarCraft 1, and then like 4 to 5 hours of the StarCraft talk show called The Pylon Show each week.
Okay.
That's my streaming schedule, and that's like always. I never miss a day.
Damn.
It's like the craziest thing has to happen for you to miss.
How many days a week?
5 days a week.
Right.
The entire week in Korea. So Monday through Friday Korea, which is, I guess, Sunday through Thursday in America.
I am going to find, so for YouTube, here, I'm just going to send this to you, and then I'm going to put it in Notepad. I think that this is from a guy named Jeremy. He runs 20 YouTube channels, like not an exaggeration. and out of them, I think, 8 of them have silver play buttons. The guy's a monster.
What's that?
Oh, like 100K
Silver
subscribers or more.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he's an utter monster. He came up with this list of like, okay, there are basically 5 categories of videos that you can make. And thinking about things in these terms, and more importantly, getting your team to think about things in these terms, is like how you start thinking about setting this up. So there's epic content, which I think is just out of the question for you right now. It's like insanely produced like theater shit, right? legacy historic stuff, which is something you're definitely not utilizing, that you are like amazing with. Like there's like I look at like a lot of those here's a really technical question actually. Do you have any rebroadcast? Could you put a video that's like 6 years old of you casting up on your YouTube? Could you do that?
Oof. I don't think technically.
So the better question is, could you do it and no one would stop you?
Probably.
Yeah.
I could probably do that because I think
so too.
Like, I mean, GSL's not even owned by the same company it used to be owned by. A lot of the VODs are lost to time.
I think nobody would stop you.
Yeah, I think I could get away with it.
I think so too, Artos. So thinking about legacy and historic is super interesting for you because you have one of the longest legacies of anyone in esports. So you. I mean, if that's all you did, but like if you're going to commit to like 3 videos a week, for example, or something like that, one of those videos could be that, just digging through old VODs. Like, and by the way, this is like something your community would love to do. Like guys, go find your favorite moment of my shit, upload it to YouTube, right? Like, and like title that right, thumbnail that right. It's God tier. Like it'll do so well, dude. I still go through.
It's a great idea.
There's some random guy. If I search for this, I always search for Tasteless and Artosis highlights. And there's some random dude. It's like LLTV, or I'll find it like immediately. LDHTV, and you can see I have like watch time in this, right? It's just like GSL highlights, the casting Archon, and this is just you guys saying dumb shit about Banelings, dumb shit about like whatever, and like yeah, like why is this not your YouTube video? 76,000 views.
Yeah,
right? Like that kind of thing. You can.
Yeah, people do make that.
Yes,
they're making money off that, aren't they?
They're making money off that, and they're and like that's you, dude. That's you in those videos. That's you right there on the thumbnail.
Shit.
No. And by the way, like,
why am I making everyone else money?
Yeah. And like this doesn't mean like, well, time to DMCA some fucks, like, right? Like, because this is really good for you. But
I'm totally down.
Yeah, and I think you should be. But like, there are actually tons of videos on this guy's channel that are like 50 to 100K views, like all of them. And they're not even good thumbnails or anything. It's just Tasteless and Artosis highlights, right? So you could just go through these, download the VOD, re-upload the parts you like onto YouTube, title and thumbnail it differently, like the best of Artosis. GSL, whatever GSL was, there you go. You could just do that.
That is a great
right?
idea.
Okay. Yeah. And if you had like a community contest, which is like, okay, you get a lesson with me, 1 lesson, 1 hour StarCraft if you find like something that I end up putting on YouTube or that's probably fucking super time consuming. Like you get $10, you get an Amazon gift card, whatever the fuck you want to come up with, right? You get a thank you. Your community would do this for free. They love to do this for you, right?
That's sick. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So that's
great idea.
We're
gonna try that one.
Hell yeah. That's number 2. Highlights, right? Which is, I think, right now, I think you're doing a lot of like this type of thing, which is like yeah.
It's the content I'm already doing on the stream. It's the very easiest thing that we can do. Basically, is I just hit a mark button on my stream deck if I play a game that I think was interesting for people to watch. Like, you know, my best couple games of the day, basically, I mark, and then those might get uploaded. Right? Okay, that's kind of how that's done right now. That's just like
feel like if you make these like 20% more accessible, like Zerg Rush destroys everything could be like the craziest StarCraft Zerg Rush of all time. You know, like 20% more extreme.
Okay.
Gets you there. Like
that's so difficult, the stream titles, because that's where it starts to butt up against my natural instinct where I don't like to be fake. But
that's tough.
But you got to be fake in YouTube titles and thumbnails and stuff.
You have to be the word like grandiose, but it's like you have to be boastful, you have to be like loud and like all the like one of the things that I've been looking at is like the Among Us shit, and just looking at the type of content that's like really doing crazy. So I just googled Among Us, right? The first video that comes up is the most insane 500 IQ imposter win streak. Right? So
Yeah.
this is one of these things that's like, that is an accessible title to anyone, even if you don't like, even if you have just a very casual interest in the game. And if you go and you look at every single one of the titles, is this the greatest Among Us imposter game ever, the most insane. You can see a lot of people are copying this IQ title. The most insane. That's Mr. Beast title. Shit, 19 million.
Yeah.
Views. Yeah. Like everybody, 2,000 IQ door play to win as imposter. Like the list is just all these things, right? Greatest imposter ever, 2.1 million views. These are greatest Protoss ever is a title of one of your YouTube videos. Like that's the title that you should have. Just the end of it, right? Like that's like, yeah.
But won't people get tired of the YouTube channel always having titles?
I know
like
what you're
that?
thinking. I know what you're thinking.
They won't? Because I feel like I would. I'm like,
yep, dude.
you played the greatest Protoss last week.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not really, how can you be, then you're like, well, it's even greater, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It is, I feel you so hard.
I'm too honorable. It's a problem.
I know. No, I get it. Because here's the thing, right? You don't consume content like that, right? And the hardest thing to learn about marketing is that you are not your audience. That's the hardest thing for anybody to learn. It's the hardest thing for me to learn. Because like, when I started doing my YouTube videos, like you can like look at my YouTube channel and like, it just progresses to like, right now it's just the most extreme shit ever, right? Like how agencies steal from streamers and YouTubers, right? Or the truth about being a Twitch streamer. These are like really like extreme. Epic Games got Fortnite banned on purpose.
Yeah.
Click to save gaming, right? But no one ever like posts a comment. It's like, well, yeah, gaming wasn't really saved when I clicked on this, and it's like it's because like, the way that I learned to look at it was behind this title and thumbnail is the value you're looking for. I am creating content that is the answer to whatever you're clicking on this for. And like if I have to like black bag you like V for Vendetta style into like then I will because you need to watch this. Like, and that's like I think like part of the mindset that like this is more of just like how communication works on this platform.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you have to almost trick someone to do what's good for them.
Exactly.
Like I tell my kids that their medicine is juice.
You're like, yeah, I think that's 100% exactly right. These are all your kids on here, and you have to tell them it's juice.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I get it. Yeah,
makes sense. Okay.
That's funny.
I can rationalize it like that. If I lie to my children in this way, I can lie to the
you can lie to the
guys in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, we're making progress. Yeah. We're gonna need to gradually lie to people. Yeah. And I think like some of my most I sort by like some of my most successful videos and titles, and I think about why that happened. And I look at like this one, which is like exactly how to grow a Twitch stream from 0 to 100 viewers. It just, that's what it is. And if you click on that, you will learn exactly how to grow a Twitch stream from 0 to 100 viewers. Like, I'm not lying to you, right? Like, that really is that's the video. You know, that's what you get. But I'm making it like as blatant and as out there as possible, right?
Yeah.
And your user base will thank you for that, because by watching more of your content as a result of clicking on it more, they'll actually become more invested in you, not less. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna make some title changes for sure.
Good shit. Yeah. So the historic content, so that's the highlight stuff. And then long form is like discussions and interviews. This is another thing along the lines of historic content that I think is really interesting. So you have a unique access to pros, and you probably know everyone in esports who has ever been in esports, ever. Like,
Kinda.
Yeah, everyone in the world, every single one. If there's like a guy in like Thailand who played StarCraft once, like that's your accidentally logged onto it in a LAN cafe. Artosis has got that guy on lockdown, right? Like, so you can use that, right? Like, and I think there's a lot of collaboration opportunity in the form of long form content that you could take advantage of. And by the way, I also think out of the 5, this is the easiest category for you to branch on as well. Where if you want to become an authority, or you just want to like have like more than like you want to build on that like alternative to StarCraft type of brand. I think that bringing in collaborations from other aspects of esports, how does StarCraft casting compare to the LCS? Talk to an LCS caster. If you DM them, they'd fucking respond, right? How does it respond to OW? Yeah, you have thoughts?
Okay, so I do something that's kind of like this. I have a show called The Pylon Show.
Okay, tell me about it.
That myself and In Control made a couple years ago, as like co-hosts. It's on my YouTube, and we do it each like I guess Wednesday night for your time, and it's kind of like it's the StarCraft news show. It's just trying to be. Do you remember State of the Game from way back?
Of course, I do.
It's the remake of that.
All right.
Jeff and I wanted to get that back so badly, so we eventually just made the Pylon Show together, and that's what it is. It's a StarCraft talk show. I bring on. We've had like 100 different guests on it, mostly from StarCraft, and we do conversations. So it's kind of falls under that, I think, a little bit.
So,
but it's not exactly what you're saying, but it's
why
I don't know.
Isn't that bigger in the most like objective way to ask that question, right? Like, self-improvement oriented, challenging question, right? Like,
so well, the Pylon Show is like some people watch it live, some people watch on YouTube, and we have it on every podcast platform. It's kind of an interesting thing because I don't feel like the metrics for success for it are, because it's an important thing for StarCraft, I think, if I could be so bold, to have a centralized place where we go over all the tournament results, we go over everything. It's for the StarCraft scene, and it's funded by the StarCraft scene. Like we have a Patreon that pays every guest that comes on gets paid to be on it. This is not like a giant money-making thing. This is like, I love StarCraft, and StarCraft needs something like this.
Okay.
So the views don't do as well as some of the other stuff I do for sure. Like for instance, when I stream it, it doesn't get as many views as me just playing StarCraft 1. But the thing is, it's important. I love it. You know, it's the community wants it. They fund it, and you know, it's a place where, you know, if we have drama in the community, I get the people on that have the drama, and we talk about it and that type of thing. You know.
Yeah. Okay. I think what's happening there is it is very long form, so it's only accessible to like a like the like you said yourself, like the audience that is really, really dedicated to like learning about StarCraft and what's in it. I think there's a broader way to do this that's that isn't really an extra time investment, because you would use your streaming time for this anyway, and this would be a show that you do like every 2. It doesn't have to be like a show called something. So for example, like one of the things that I try to do once per week is bring on someone really interesting to talk about self-improvement, the industry. That's you, right? I did this originally because I was like, you know what? There's like a lot of really awesome people, and I just don't talk to them. I'm not very good at like following up with people on Discord and like shit like that. I just want I want to like use this time that I already have invested to get in front of people that I would want to talk to. And then at the same time, I'll have people benefit from that. And the challenge there was to try to do that in a way that made long form accessible. So there's one of the videos I did recently was with a dungeon master named Arcadum. And it's called The Hidden World of D&D on Twitch, featuring Arcadum. And this is just past 100K views, which is pretty good for my channel. This is a 3.5 hour long VOD, right? And I think it worked because the narrative was like, this is why this universe of D&D is cool. So the example that I used that was a literal one for you is like, what if you brought over an LCS caster and you just talked about casting and the difference between those things? Nobody's ever done that before, right?
Yeah.
What if you talked about the difference between how OWL runs shit and how GOM does? And what if you talked about the GSL? And what if you talked about like how casters have evolved over the years with Nick? And he just brought it because Nick has the exact same goals you do, right? Like right now. You see, these are things that you could leverage, and it's as simple as like you're sitting on the toilet and you're like, I just have an idea. And that's what I do. Is like I have a Excel spreadsheet that I literally just type into when I have an idea. And it's like, you know what? I think Artosis is one of the coolest people in the esports scene, and I just want to talk to him about casting and business and shit like that. And then that idea sat on a Excel sheet until we DM'd each other one day, and there it was. And it happened. And you have enough of those that they happen like once every 2 weeks. But they add up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Every one of these is collab. Every one of these is opportunity, right? So what do you think of that?
No, it's definitely a good idea. Like some of these conversations, because I do want to have conversations, and I fit some of them into Pylon Show because they fit with what the viewer base wants. If it's like very StarCraft centric, I hadn't thought of doing things like commentary centric, and I think maybe I shy away from some of that because I don't pay attention to a lot of the industry nowadays. It's so big and all that, so I'm like, well, I don't watch any LCS, so I don't really know what their commentary is like. But the idea though, I like.
That might even be.
I do know a lot of people.
More of a reason to do it, like because like for me, right? I haven't like I still watch GSL here and there, but I haven't like really followed the scene. I used to follow it every day, and I think that's just largely because I've gotten like really busy with my career. But like I can still talk to you because like there's that thing in common. Like you know enough to have an interesting conversation with an LCS caster, regardless of what.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you right now. I don't even think I could tell you which teams are in Worlds. I'm sure I can't, right? But I'm confident that if Freak came on the show tomorrow, we'd have a great conversation. I think you're the same.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's some thinking to be doing there. So that's number 4. And then the next one is actually something I don't see you do at all, which is kind of interesting. And I think this is because of your back to the honor thing, which is like meta content, reacts content. Like, I can't believe Blizzard did this. Like that kind of stuff. All the stuff that's up here is like, it's just for you to evaluate.
No. It's definitely helpful to see things laid out like that, right? Instead of just trying to come up with ideas and then figuring out for myself, you know, like what are the different types of content? Because that's like something I would think about, but it's good to just have the cheat code of here's a list.
Yeah, reacts is something that I think is you should be on the motherfucker for every single update. Like there are updates that still come to StarCraft balancing, like, and then you use
for very specific StarCraft reactions. I generally try to put together a Pylon Show episode for that because we generally do like 4 episodes a month.
Do both.
So it's like if a patch comes out or something, I'll get like pros on and we'll talk about it. So that kind of exists in that way. More recently on my stream, so I stream from 9:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. On the weekdays. So I always eat my lunch on stream.
Yeah.
The children wake me up at 6 a.m. every day. So.
Jesus, dude.
I'm a farmer nerd, man. That's what it's all about. I have milked cows before I've been on stream.
Farmer nerd, dude. I love it.
But recently, like, I guess this is kind of like that where I've stopped checking Reddit and Team Liquid and things, except during my lunch break, just so that we have something that I can do while my poor stream has to watch me eat. So I guess it's like a minor reaction thing, and there's been a couple highlights that have come out of it, but where I'm just reading it and it's like fucking, I'm like, I get into a fucking thread about me where people are discussing whether or not they're like, is he a bad person because of the way he talks about players? It's like, I'm like, what the fuck, guys? Like,
yeah, so there's a really interesting concept of like there's a thing called passive versus active audience. Okay, passive audience is so active audience is like you start your stream, they're there, and it's not the same audience, it's not the same people, but it's it's kind of weird how your general numbers will be the same. Like if you're like a 2K Andy, you're always gonna have around 2K like every time you start your stream. And if you're like a 5K Andy, same thing or like whatever. And aside from like these like really big events or things that happen, you're going to stay there. So what is it that creates a really big event that all of a sudden you'll have 10K people on your stream? That's the passive audience. So the thing to keep in mind on a macroscopic level, there is always a way huger audience that's waiting for something to happen than there is in your active audience. And thinking about how to tap into that is like key. So like if you do the Pylon Show and you react to like a really, really bad patch where you think something goes way out of whack, right? You're activating that core audience that's going to watch that, but the passive audience that doesn't follow everything you do every day because they don't consume you like they do will not know about it. But by making a YouTube video that is like the worst patch in StarCraft history, and again, you have to tailor this to your own shit, right? I'm just like, by doing that, you activate that active audience. That audience then comes in, and then all of a sudden your YouTube video has like 50K views, and like nobody on StarCraft gets 50K views or 100K views or whatever it is. Like that's how people that do, and that's how people like blow up. Like a good one is Pestily on Escape from Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov is a fairly niche game. Pestily regularly gets like 100K view videos because the passive audience of Escape from Tarkov is huge, and he activates it all the time. If there's like a new gun that comes out, he's on that motherfucker. He analyzes 100% like what it is and tells you why it's valuable. Does like a YouTube title that like really adds to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. It's like there's actually a lot of people that are willing to consume StarCraft content. It's just they're not consuming it all the time. The people who watch me are consuming it all the time.
Yeah, and so the way that this looks is, do you have my stream up?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do my favorite thing. So like I use 2 programs to explain everything: MS Paint and Notepad, and that's all I need. So the way I look at this is like, I'm going to draw the universe's shittiest dartboard. I realize that I want to do a smaller circle, but I can only do, wait, no, we're going to make this work. Okay. This is going to look like a boob, but, all right. So it's a dartboard. It's not a boob. Doesn't really look like a boob. It looks like a, yeah. Okay. Right here in this red X is like the pylon show. This is like your super core audience that is going to like everything that happens in StarCraft. They're going to be there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what like the passive audience of that is. There's a passive audience even within this passive audience. As you get wider out, the number of people increases. And out here, like on the way fringes is someone like me, which is like, I love StarCraft content. You give me something cool to watch in StarCraft, I'll watch it right now. Mm-hmm. Like, even though I haven't watched like the GSO regular in a while, I'm part of that passive audience. And so there's people of like imagine it like an explosion where like the blast like hits like these people in this second place. They'll consume anything that's like even kind of like remotely cool about StarCraft, but it has to be something that's like these people in your core audience, they consume everything. No matter, you could be like, I am Artosis, and for the next 7 hours, I will watch paint dry. And they will be like, okay. And there will be an audience that watches that, right? Like, that's it. Then they'll be like, I'm Artosis, and I'm going to play StarCraft. Okay, well, that's this audience. I'm Artosis, and I'm going to put on a tournament. That's like this audience. Like, and you've had that experience by doing like events. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's actually, that happened exactly like a month or 2 ago, where for the first time I hosted a tournament. Basically, one of the guys in the chat like kind of helped out and put it in a prize pool, and so there was just like this tournament, and it like way higher viewership than normal.
Yeah, and that happens because that passive audience is activated, right? So I think the key to building a successful brand within a niche is to figure out how to activate that passive audience as much as possible. Because
that's quite brilliant.
That
makes so much sense with the circles and stuff. Yeah. Your paint skills are amazing.
Thank you so much. I believe that paint is the mother of all programs, and like there's always some dick in chat that's like, you should use Adobe Illustrator. I'm like, no, this is the language of the gods. Okay.
Yes. When I was a small child, I used paint on my dad's black and white digital computer. Yes. It was absolutely, it's amazing.
It has never been surpassed in terms of informational transference quality. It is the best of the best. Yeah. So I think about everything in terms of these things. So I know that there is an audience that's like my core audience that like no matter, I talk about some boring shit. Like I'm like, all right, today we're going to talk about like some like technical thing in like the content delivery network and like why it's better for advertisers. And like that'll be like, there'll be like some dude in the corner that's like, yeah, because he watches everything, right? But like I know the explosion of that energy will be less, right? But then like something goes down in esports right? Like a team sells. There's like a fucking drama thing where like a team implodes. Okay, like if I capture that, I get the entire audience. That's how you have to think about the industry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's not like that much big news within StarCraft, but I think if I was doing something like that, it would have to be twofold. If it was StarCraft based, it would have to be like done on the Pylon show in the proper way, and then like maybe a secondary one. It was something like that work as well.
Yep, that's 100% what I would do.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, you don't have to give up anything that you're doing now, and I think it's also like the thing with the Pylon show that's interesting is like, okay, if you have 2.5 hours of content, that content is content. so we could upload so like for this video that we're doing together, or like this is gonna be a video, right? Like we could do two things. We could do Artosis and Devin talk about, actually I think I'm gonna title this video how he became the best esports broadcaster in history, or something like that, right? And and then I will go send a DM to Tasteless and apologize and be like, listen, like I know you guys are both great, but this is how it is. Like right, like and I'll tell you something like that, okay? And that's like one like 3 or whatever hour VOD. We could also do 15 videos that are like Tasteless and Artosis talk about what it takes to be a caster. Sorry, Devin and Artosis talk about it. Then we could do another one that's like Devin and Artosis talk about the problems within esports and like why franchises don't work, right? Why franchises don't work. That's a fucking insane title. Why franchises don't work. Why esports franchises don't work. Insane title. Holy shit. I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, like sorry. Yeah. So like there within the content that we've done, there are 10 different subjects we've gone over that are fascinating to people that would all be 7-minute videos that would all hit different. And the Pylon show, same thing. You probably go through everything, patch notes, fucking, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much in each episode that I'm like, I can't even believe that. Like, it's great and I love it, but I can't believe people watch it because there's so much in every episode. It's like, holy crap. By the end of it, it's like you have learned everything. You're caught up.
Yes. Yeah. So there's probably, I mean, and so again, this is something that like a lab type situation or a community type situation would do for you is like, break down what you guys thought was the most important parts of these episodes and let's break it up. And then all of a sudden 2.5 hours of work that was worth one video and the time you spent on stream becomes 5 or 6. And becomes, and the way to think about like these 5 forms of content is they get interspersed between each other. So you don't necessarily need to upload all of those at the same time. You upload one, then you upload something historic, then you upload something that's a highlight, and now you have 3 different types of videos that your audience just got to see. You have 3 in the chamber that are still from your long form, from your Pylon show. You've got another highlight coming. You see how this works? And then like your community just starts building it up.
Oh, that makes so much sense. That's great. Yeah. I love it. I'm learning so much right now.
I love this shit.
Keep it coming. Come on.
Yeah. It's like I know kung fu, dude. Like yeah. It's just that this is like, so I always try to do something where like I bring someone on that has a unique problem that like nobody's ever had. Like, and I think next week I want to bring on a guy named John Silva, who's one of the major artists for Magic the Gathering.
Oh, cool.
And so it's like, how do we take creative artist work and build a brand out of it? That's a really interesting problem. And with you have one of those interesting problems we've never talked about before. So that's why there's like ideas coming out that have like never happened before, right? Is like you are a insanely established authority, like to an incredible degree, and working with both within those within that structure and outside of it is like a really interesting problem to explore. But I think a lot of the outside of it has to be soul searching on your part because you have to figure out what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And then you can apply some of this to it.
It's like, I mean, I work hard, but I'm probably actually very lazy, and I just am good at finding things I want to do.
Yeah, totally. I am also very lazy. And I think my challenge, because dude, I don't even have like 4 kids or any of the other shit that you have. Like, I just like I put like 140 hours in the Path of Exile the last 2 weeks, and I was like, fuck, like you know, like I just like was like, you know, I'm just gonna not stream for a while and like see you later, bye. And people were like, Jesus Christ, man, like, so it's working around those tendencies we have, and the best advice I have for that is like you just use like you utilize other people who are interested in seeing more of what you do in the world. Yeah. Of which there is a, like, I imagine, like, a cool thing about you, I think there are like, we'll literally use a StarCraft example. There are zealots that are like my life for Artosis. Because at this point, you've had 20 years to build. There's someone in there, dude. Right now, he's just like, I'm waiting. He's like, he's got his fucking Artosis hat. He's got his fucking, like, his, like, big finger that's, like, #1 caster. And he's just like, and you're just like, hey, I need some help on YouTube. And he's like, I'm fucking, let's go. I've got my archives and it's time. My time, right? They're so happy to help because they just want to see more of what you do in the world. Finding those people and like connecting with them is awesome. I think most of the people that help me are just people that are like, dude, I know that if I don't help you, you will just potato on Path of Exile and none of this information will ever go anywhere. Like, so I'm gonna, like, there's one of the dudes that, helps me so much, creates a Notion, which is like a kind of a CRM of like everything we do on the stream. And I'm pretty sure that's just because he wants it to exist. You know, like I pay him, but he also just like it was his idea. He would do it for free. Yeah. And I think like reaching into your community and finding those people really valuable.
I guess that makes sense. Actually, there's like we have a guy in StarCraft 1 that translates a bunch of the guides that top pro gamers make.
That's nuts.
And yeah, no, it's amazing. And I contact him every now and then. I'm like, let me give you money to do more. Please. He's like, I don't know how to charge for this. I'm like, please let me give you that. Like, this is the content that I desire. I want it. Please let me help you.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling. I have that feeling as well about him.
Yeah, I think that's a place to really think about, because looking for people like that are already really passionate about what you do is like, so there's a dude in chat that just said the best guy for this made rage videos of Artosis for free. I got Dan to hire him as a Twitch and YouTube editor. Nice username. Okay. Yeah, so that's a perfect example.
That's my dude. He's awesome.
There you go. Yeah. So there's someone that's
true, actually. That is what he was doing. He was making compilations of me raging at people in the game that were really hilarious, and he does a great job on my YouTube.
There you go. Yeah. So it's like, I think like it's some of this is like really seemingly simple logistic stuff. Like create a Discord channel and set it to private, give people a permission, and put people in there, and be like, this is the place where we talk about how to build a brand. That's how I started the lab, and now it's like it's this whole thing.
Yeah, I have 2 people right now that help me, which is Nice Username that I hired for YouTube, and then Cobra Venom that's in your chat right now is the producer of Pylon Show. So we actually have a 3-person chat where I basically make them help me. And I'm like, I put all my questions in there and stuff, and they definitely do a lot. Yeah, so it's definitely that like I mean, Cobra's been working with me for a while, but it's from watching some of your stuff that I've tried to start, like, hired a YouTube guy basically. It's just, yeah, you know, these are great ideas. So the only ideas that I've had so far is basically what you see on my YouTube. So I need to expand that.
Yeah, I think I think there's like a lot in here that just even like my goal is like, if you even do like 10% of this, you're gonna like go really far. I think you are already a super smart dude. So I think like it's just applying some like tactical stuff. And like you said, you're in like the discovery phase, and that shows, right? It's like you're just sponging. So I'm just here to help you sponge, you know?
Yeah. No,
because I know that when you turn it on, like you turn the dial, it's over. Like,
yeah, it takes me a long time to act on anything, which is this it's weird thing where it's like I'll think about something for a year before doing it sometimes. Sure. It's like I honestly, like, I will just sit there and gain information until I hit a critical mass where I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So
Time.
it feels like it's slow going, but yeah, stuff like this helps it speed up. So thank you.
Of course, man. Yeah, I will
Very
just
good.
make sure to remember me when you have 1 billion people following your YouTube, and like I gotta contact 3 secretaries to get through the gate. I used to know Dan. I used to know him. It's like, sure. What was your name
Get
again?
him out of here. I don't remember him.
No. I met you at BlizzCon in 2015. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing, you know. Like, did you have any like questions for me? Is there anything like in particular you came into this like, you want to talk about?
Well, I think you nailed a lot of the things that like my brain is very full of this YouTube stuff. As there's one like little small question that I figure I may as well just ask you because I just don't know, because I thought about making like one of these TikTok accounts, but then I hear all this shit about the Chinese government spying on you or something. Like what is your opinion on that? Is that something I should spend my limited time doing or no?
This is a super good question. Okay. The answer is no. But it's not because they steal all your information. That is a negative, for sure. And since you're closer to them than I am, I think it's a more relevant negative because they're like over there for you. They're like pretty close.
Right next door, yeah.
Yeah, you just throw a rock over there and hit China and they get really mad.
Almost.
Yeah, like that's, you know, like, but with, dude, that's one of the things that's like, it's so crazy. Just a real digression real quick. When I was in Korea, it's like, you're just next door to North Korea. They're just like in Seoul, in center Seoul,
Right,
you're like 40 miles away from North Korea. They're just over there. And like, you'll just like talk to someone and they'll point and they'll be like, yeah, that's where North Korea is. And you'll be like, holy shit. What if they just...
Did you get to go to the border when you were here?
I did. Yeah. It was
sick,
when it's still, because now it's different, right? Now it's like, there's not like weird guys staring at each other.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure. I haven't been there in years and years. And
I heard
years
it like, yeah, like like I did go to that. You have to go on this like really weird road. It's like super spooky. You feel like you're going to fall off a cliff.
It's weird up there.
It's weird.
That's a weird area of the DMC.
There's two dudes staring at each other all day. That's it. Like, just and then they go home and I guess or whatever. And like I had such a good time in Seoul. I had a guide named he's a pretty prominent figure in the League of Legends esports industry. His name is Joyluck. And he's like, he just like took me to so many cool places like Dondamon and like the whole clothing shops and like the underground. And like I got like a hazing where I sat down with like a bunch of older Korean men in the what is the name of that underground like food place where they have it's like endless in Seoul. It's like
what type of food are you?
It's a market. And there's all kinds of different vendors. They have everything from freaking like those classic Korean pancakes.
You're probably talking about like Namdaemun.
That's it.
Most likely.
Yeah.
That's the popular one like that. But there's several of those actually.
I sat with like 6 older Korean people who fed me the weirdest things I've ever eaten. I'm pretty sure I ate every part of animals I didn't know I could eat. And they were just laughing their ass off at this like dumbass foreigner, right? That's like white as a freaking like as like a freaking like sheet. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is pig balls. And they're like, oh, you know, just like getting into it. But yeah, it's crazy. Like living in Korea, it's so surreal how you live that close to like a lot of like what's going on in the world, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the news, it's what's going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, over here, no one's afraid. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, if North Korea attacked, they'd be destroyed in like 2 hours. So it's everyone knows that they won't because, like, what does the leader want to die? Is that his thing?
Dude, there's a significant American presence that's just ready to rock. Oh my god!
Yes.
Like they have a base there. One of the things that really surprised me about going to Korea is my grandfather flew in the war on the side of what is now South Korea. And for whatever reason, like nobody cares about that in America, but for whatever reason, it was a big deal. Naver wrote me up. Like the Korean like news website, and I have an article on Naver that's like a picture of my grandfather, and like it goes through how like they were really honored that that happened.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. Whereas like nobody would care about something like that here. They really value the American input. The Korean War Museum you can go to for free. It's in Seoul.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how they told the story of that. It's really different from what you hear here about how that war actually went down. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, no, and they're really like thankful for that too with American people. Like when I've gone out drinking with older Koreans or something, they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys helped. You're great." It's definitely a very different view of everything over here than what Americans get as a view.
Yes, yeah, and I always recommend to people, I'm like, if you need to do Asia, you can start in South Korea. It's that's the only place where I felt like I could drop a backpack on the street, and I would come back the next day and it might be there.
Literally, someone will actually see you drop it and grab it.
And then run back and get. Like I'm relatively afraid to approach police in America. I would do it if I had a very serious problem. But in Korea, it's just a dude wearing like a traffic vest, and I'm like, hey man, I'm
super nice.
Yeah, I'm lost, and they're like, oh shit, dude, like here you go, like yeah, we'll buy you a cab, we'll like whatever, we'll drive you home, and I'm like, damn, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's actually the safest country on earth.
I think so too.
That. They're like, oh, North Korea's there. It's like, no. This has the least violent crime. No one steals as well.
No one steals.
So
every restaurant you walk into is safe to eat. You never get sick. No food poisoning ever.
I know all sorts of women that will walk home alone in the dark at 2 a.m. and no one's afraid. It's just totally. Everything's fine.
I'm remembering a contrast. There was so the Korean embassy is right next to the American embassy in Seoul. And at the Korean embassy, there are like these like dudes with like traffic jackets on, and there's a big bus, and they just kind of sit in it and chill, drink coffee, talk, and whatever, right? And then like right across the street from that is the American embassy. You got dudes in like fucking mechanized, or they look like space marines. They have fucking M16s. They've got like battle armor. They look like they're fucking straight out of the fucking Adeptus Astartes. Like they're just badass motherfuckers. And they're like, whoa, like it's like you get this like difference in imagery. It's like so profound.
Yeah. No, the U.S. embassy is like a pain in the ass to get into. You can only bring one electronic device with you. You have to have your appointment and be exactly on time and stand in these lines and go through metal detectors. My wife is Canadian. We go down the street to the Canadian one. You walk in, they're friendly. They're like, oh, hi, what's up? Do you have an appointment? No. Oh, okay, no problem. Come on over here. It's completely different.
Yeah, the dudes in like the U.S. embassy are like freaking like mil-spec'd out Marines, like stay your business. Like I'm an American citizen. I'm just here to like, Yeah, like
so different.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I digressed. I remember the question. Okay, so I just thought it was really interesting. Like, one of the people at Novo, the agency, actually set up TikTok with a Raspberry Pi. And he looked at all of the outgoing server transmissions, and you can't like really understand what it's sending, but you can see that it's sending things. Out of all the apps on his phone, and he had like, average person has probably like 100 apps or something on their phone. I don't know. This one was like going crazy 24/7. It was sending shit to Chinese servers, Russian servers, fucking like it was like I uninstalled TikTok after I saw this. It was just like just information. So yeah, I do think that's a factor. The real reason that I think that TikTok is kind of a meme. I want to use the bathroom real quick and we can talk about it. That's the quick.
Okay, I have to pee really bad.
Good. Let's do that.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're both thinking the same thing. All right. Yo, you guys having fun? This is awesome. I'm absolutely loving this talk. Holy. Yeah, it's really good. It's super, super good.
I'm back.
Same. I just got here.
That was needed. Oof.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I drink like a gallon of water a day.
Oh yeah, me too.
And like recently, I was like just about to use my Brita filter to like drink some water, and like the whole bottom of it was green algae, which apparently can happen if you like leave it out. So you got to watch your. So I'm on like the water bottle memes right now.
Oh God. No, I have a Brita filter that I literally just poured this glass of water from. So now you got me a little bit paranoid. But
Yep. You're drinking the sea. Yeah. And like I was messing around with my chat. I was like, if I left this filter here with the algae in it, how long would it take to become a fish?
Billions of years?
Yeah, but it would it might happen. It could
eventually.
Yeah.
You'd have to protect it from a lot of things.
You think so?
Yeah. No, I mean, the way that things are going with esports, really.
The way that things are going.
We're all going to die in a nuclear winter, okay?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it turns around and someone makes a good RTS. That's like when I regain faith.
Yeah. So you will probably be fine. I think we're going first at this point.
Oh,
over here in America.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I'll be all right.
For a
this
bit.
Is a safe place right now.
Yes. Yeah. I think America's going first at this rate. We'll see.
Got to get down to New Zealand. I think that's going to be the last place with people.
That's it, man. That's the hello, we're fishing over here. Come on and join the sauna. Yeah. Like that's the place, man. That's where everything is, like New Zealand territory type thing. But it's so hard to get in there because they know that. So they're like, yeah, keep your dirty American paws out of our country.
Their ping to the Korean server though sucks, so I can't do it. I'll just die here. It's fine.
This is it. This is your like Titanic, like you're playing StarCraft instead of playing the violin. Like you're
like, I cannot go below a certain ping.
There's a lot of people that feel that way.
Yeah. No, once you have it, it's like, you want me to play in 150 ping when I can play in 7? No, thank you.
Is that really what your ping is to Korean servers there?
Yeah, generally. The last time I looked at a ping, it was like I was playing like Heroes of the Storm showed ping, and I think my ping went from 5 to 7 or so. That was the range.
That's madness.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's nice. And then when I played on the NA server, it was like 150 to 200.
Ooh.
It's like,
I wonder if you're like Goku or like Piccolo, moreover, like where you get to like North America, if you went here and you played on NA servers and you just like take off your fucking like your like Korean server armor and it's just like and all of a sudden you're just like this fucking god, like you're instant grandmasters, like you're just destroying everything. Yeah.
To a certain extent. Yeah. I mean, there's MMR inflation for regions because they get easier.
Interesting. That's cool. Have you played have you done a hardcore push on an NA ladder like recently?
So it's kind of a global ladder.
Okay.
In StarCraft 1. In StarCraft 2, I mean, I jumped on when I was active in StarCraft 2 playing, because I switched over to playing only remastered a couple of years ago. But yeah, when I jumped on the NA server, I like immediately got up into GM like very easily from Masters level on Korea. But yeah, in StarCraft 1, it's a global server that takes into account your location. So you you pair against people in your region much more, but it will give you people in other regions sometimes.
Masters Zerg took me so long to get in StarCraft 2. And like hours of watching VODs, hours of watching tapes, hours of watching content, and then like going back and like I had it down to like I knew like what I was doing on the minute. I knew I would have like I'd have ideas and plays for like 4 minutes and 15 seconds, 6 minutes and this, whatever. Like you'd have a certain number of units and like a certain amount of macro done. And oh God, can I ask you this question? I have to ask, I will answer the TikTok thing. Is Zerg harder to play than other races? Can I get the final authority on this?
Okay, so here it is. As you're rising up, I think that Zerg is really hard to play.
Yeah.
And I think for years
Okay.
it was the hardest to play because it just had more macro mechanics because you have to
You
push
inject.
creep. You have
Yeah.
you have to hit your injects. And you have to be it's a reactive race. So you have to react to what your opponents are doing.
Yeah.
Right now, it's been mapped out so well and everyone's so good mechanically that at the pro level, I think it's actually
Karen.
the easiest race at the pro level is
Whoa.
Zerg. Because everyone now is so good that like everyone's creep spread looks magnificent. Everyone's injecting a whole bunch. And obviously
they've got
there's
it.
huge differences. But yeah, I think at the pro level, Terran is probably the hardest in StarCraft 2 right now.
Interesting.
But yeah, Zerg, especially when you were playing, Zerg was the hardest for sure. At the beginning, at the early years, not even a question. It was the hardest.
Yes, I feel like it's like a PhD just confirmed my like theory on life. Like I knew it, dude, because like, all the fucking nerds that were like Terran players were like, LOL, easy race, just create Zerglings. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is so hard. Like I'm finally there, dude. Like you've validated my entire existence.
That's kind of a famous story is like I started playing Zerg in StarCraft 2 because it was mechanically the most challenging.
That's why
my
yeah.
StarCraft 1 skills would transfer the most to it. And I convinced Idra, who started on Protoss, I was like, dude, this one's way more mechanical. You're going to use more of your skill set with this race. So I switched him over and he still hasn't forgiven me.
To this day. Created a super that's I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's lore.
That's a real story. That happened.
That's actual
He was
lore.
pissed after a couple of years. He's like, if I had fucking played Protoss, I'd have so many championships right now.
Yeah, I always had the perception that Protoss, because that's actually what. So when I got to Master Zerg, I got there, but I paid like such a price that I was like, I have to go random now because I need to know what it's like.
Yeah.
And the other reason for that too was like I was so sick of ZVZ. I don't know what it is, but I just can't. It's like, well, one Baneley just ruined the game. Like I lose, like, you know, like, cause I just like, I can't econ back. I literally like scratch my nose or like a dog barks or something, or like an airplane comes by and it catches my eye. I look back and a Baneley's killed my entire fucking, and it's like, you know, or it's just like roaches looking at each other, you know, just angrily. Yeah, you know, it's just like there's
ZVZ was the
hard.
sickest knife fight back then. It was a pain in the ass, man.
100%. It was really tough. So like I just eventually I was just like, okay, no more. Like I can't keep doing this. And I switched to random. I really enjoyed playing Protoss, and I felt very powerful when I played Protoss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
everyone says that basically.
And then I felt very stupid when I play Terran. Like I will never know enough about this game to master Terran.
Me either, man.
Yeah.
Let me fucking tell you.
Like I will never get
playing.
there.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Terran is a puzzle. It is so difficult. And the better you get, the harder it gets. And it's like, oh my god, it's just insanity. The skill cap on it is.
And the level that players have gotten to, like when I was playing actively, I'm trying to think what year this was. It had to have been like 6 or 7 years ago, but I'm really bad with time, so I don't know. But like a Terran did a drop, and like you would comment on that, like as a caster, you'd be like, a drop coming in from like oh my god, like he is destroying those SCVs. Like nowadays, it's like if you're not doing 7 drops while you're like macroing. Like you're an idiot. Like you're just a loser. Like get out of the game. Like the skill level is so impressive for what has happened in StarCraft for Terran. It's like if you play a good Terran player, you're just fucked. Like you're just so overwhelmed. It's like there's 3 drops going on at your base over here. The guy's frontlining you. There's like 10 Thors that just landed. Valkyries are destroying all your overlords. You're just like, God, what is happening? Like I'm losing my mind. It's insane.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Like you have to at the pro level, if you're playing Terran and you're not doing at least 3 things at once, nothing's gonna work. Yeah, that's like the barrier to entry. The minimum you can be doing is attacking 3 locations at once. It's like it's pretty crazy.
It's insane. It's come so far since like the advent of it all and the meta developing. It's incredible.
It just keeps growing.
Okay, so social media, because I think this is good.
Okay.
TikTok is bad because I like left everybody hanging there. Yeah, TikTok is bad because so we did a contest in our community. It was called the TikTok Challenge. If you build the biggest TikTok brand in 30 days, you get $500.
Damn.
That's the contest. We had a couple hundred people enter, probably about 40 or 50 that were really serious about it, and about 4 or 5 that actually built brands, and like 2 or 3 that actually built really impressive brands, like over 100K followers.
Yeah.
Then we did what's called a cross-sectional analysis, which is a really impressive way to say we looked at one thing and looked at another thing. And the other thing we looked at was how TikTok brands were converting over to platforms like YouTube and Twitch. So if you have an audience you've built on TikTok and you don't have a Twitch or a YouTube, what happens when you tell them to go there? And what we found out was that the amount of adoption, meaning the likelihood that a user will go over from one platform to another, is the lowest on TikTok out of any platform on social media.
Really? Wow. Okay.
The reason for this is because of a couple of things. One, TikTok's audience is very young, and young people do not attach well to individual personalities and brands. They attach to events and things. So if like a very cool thing happens and it's like an event in Fortnite, they get into that event, but they don't particularly look at the person that created that event, which might be like a Pokemon, right? Now, as they grow older, they attach to individuals and brands. And you might say, like, I really love watching Ninja's content. But at first, you just really like the one-shot trick plays that you see, right? So young people don't tend to follow individuals that well. And then the other problem you have is the medium, which is 6 seconds of content. So to develop a brand presence to someone in 6 seconds is really fucking hard. It's like, so for me to convince you, hey, I'm a cool guy and you want to watch me and you want to follow me also, that this is good content, and this, but 6 seconds, right? Like it's super hard to get all of that translated out. And on a platform like TikTok, what we found was making that conversion is almost impossible. So the thing that's sort of illusory about TikTok is people build fucking insane brands on you. You're like, holy shit, like this guy got like 1 million followers in like 30 days. And that can happen like without that much difficulty. But those 1 million followers are not worth anything. They won't go anywhere. Yeah. They won't buy any of your shit. They won't leave TikTok. They won't, that's just, they're people that click the follow button.
Yeah.
Because in that second, they thought you were cool.
So in that vein, like, what do you think are the actual social medias someone should focus on? Which are the ones that are actually worthwhile? Because like I have like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, but I only put any effort into Twitter and not even honestly that much effort.
I think that it goes in this order. TikTok is the lowest adoption for somebody to come over and watch a Twitch stream, but we'll use a word called engagement, which is, does this person become a follower of Artosis? Maybe watch other stuff from you occasionally or whatever, right? In order from least to greatest, I think TikTok is the worst. I think Instagram is after that. It's very hard to convert users off of Instagram. However, there is a way to do it, and the way to do that is game clips. So if you look at someone like Ninja, they do this very successfully, where like they will have like, they'll upload like a top Fortnite play, and then they'll hashtag out Fortnite. It'll do really well for them. And there's some potential there. Not enough, I think, for you to focus on it, given your already like crazy work schedule. The next up is Twitter. Twitter was a platform that I thought was dog shit until I ran the numbers on it, and now think it's actually, I probably underestimated its conversion potential now. Especially if you're posting high value stuff and you're doing what we said in the beginning of the talk, which was like, when I said like the way that you say something. So it's like, you can say, hey, streaming with Devin, we're talking esports. Or you could say something like, I think this is going to be the most important talk that StarCraft has had in the next, right? Like, and you tweet that, like, the impact and the conversion of that seems to be very high off of Twitter. And it seems to drive a lot of people to different channels and get them to activate. The engagement is really good. Next up from there is a platform that I think everyone is sleeping on, which is Facebook. People, if you talk to anybody, are like, Facebook is only used by boomers, people that are 65 years old. Facebook has 2 billion users.
That's my audience. Actually,
well, you have an older audience, but Facebook has 2 billion users. Facebook has like that's 2/7 of the Earth, right? Like that's it's like straight up like that's what it is, right? Like there are so many people on Facebook, and like one of the things that people sleep on Facebook is that Facebook is actually having a comeback among younger audiences. And the reason it's so weird, it's because younger audiences moved away from Facebook and went to Instagram and TikTok and places like that. But in that conversion, they lost the ability to do medium form content, which I would say is like, if you want to write a paragraph to your friends and leave it there, you can't do that on TikTok and Instagram. You can write it in an Instagram photo, but no one's going to read it. It's not the same as a Facebook post. So what they started doing is they started using Google Docs. And they did this because this was enabled in schools. So kids would open up a shared Google Doc, share it with everyone, send their friend the link, and type in it. And there are these Google Doc chat rooms that go for...
That's so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
That's weird.
Yeah, but when
that's like IRC or something, like the old MIRC and...
Well, think about the way that public schools work, right? They restrict certain access to websites.
Yeah.
Because they want but they're not going to restrict access to Google Docs because because that's like where you work. So these kids would have this chat room that they're posting in, and they switched that kind of created a more of a demand for medium to longer form text-based content, and they went back to Facebook.
Wow.
So a shit ton of kids are on Facebook now, and it's a really successful platform, particularly if you're doing any kind of informative. I don't think there's any reason not to syndicate your... When I say syndicate, I mean like upload a video on YouTube and upload that exact same video on Facebook. And just one-to-one it.
You can upload videos on Facebook?
You can upload videos on Facebook, and they're monetizable. The exact same way as YouTube. Yep.
Is that worthwhile, though, to split your audience? Is it better than just linking to YouTube?
It doesn't split your audience. Because the same person that consumes your content on YouTube is not the same person that consumes your content on Facebook. That's a different audience. And
that's really interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, okay, because sometimes I post a video on Facebook, like I'll put like my YouTube thumbnail there and like link and say what it's about and like link to YouTube, but then someone told me that by linking in the actual post, Facebook makes it so that no one looks at your post. Like it doesn't share it as much. So they told me to put it in the comments. So then I started putting the comments, and those ones where I put the link in the comments and only the picture and the paragraph in the Facebook post, those got like 4 times as much people looking at them as the linked ones. Mm-hmm. But you're saying that like uploading to Facebook is better than just linking to your YouTube video?
Like 3 tiers. Shit tier is embed for the exact reasons you listed. Next tier is like comments section. Tier 3, like God tier, like oh my God, we're like Greek Adonises, is upload the video to Facebook manually and run it through their program. Facebook incentivizes video content because there's not much of it on the platform and wants to get that stuff out there pronto.
That's amazing.
It's a very, very easy and successful. Like there is no reason why someone shouldn't syndicate their content from Facebook to YouTube, because it's one of the thought processes that a lot of content creators have is like, okay, if I post the same content on on like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, my audience will see the same thing 3 times and they'll get pissed off. But there's some really prominent creators who have shown that like this is like why this is not the case. And like the number one in this category is a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. He runs a marketing firm, and he's an enormous influencer. And he basically cross posts everything he does, from Instagram to YouTube to Twitter. And his argument is that the audience that, remember, there's a difference between passive and active audience. So your passive audience is like unimaginably big, and they're consuming platforms differently and at different times. If you upload something on Twitter, the average engagement, so that the amount of time it takes to reach peak engagement of that post is 14 minutes. But on Facebook, it's 120 minutes. On Instagram, it's 190 minutes. So if you upload something at 4 p.m. PST on Twitter, and then you upload something at the same thing at, which is in the form of a Facebook post, at 10 p.m. PST 6 hours later, the number of crossover audience that will see those as a duplicate post will be all next to 0.
So you space it out then?
Mhm.
Is that like the way to do it? Like if I were to upload a video to YouTube, I should upload it to Facebook like hours later? Or
I'd upload that. That doesn't
not
matter. That's going to be a different
That
audience.
doesn't
Yeah, and then the other thing too is that, like, let's say that in the the doomsday scenario, they do see the same video. They'll be like, "Oh, I already saw that," and they'll pass by it. No problem.
Hmm.
Yep. But you're doubling your chances that video gets discovered by syndicating that content.
That's wild.
No reason not to do it, and it's monetizable. I have had influencers literally like double their income overnight because all they started to do is post videos on Facebook and monetize them. They double their total income.
I'm gonna try that. Like, yeah, I guess I think I have like the business Facebook account or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I'm verified or whatever that is on Facebook, so that should be I should be able to do that.
Yeah, dude, verification is fucking legit.
All right.
That's good. You're a
Wow.
VIP.
I guess. I don't
Yes.
know.
So Facebook and then YouTube is the next one, and I'd put that at like a YouTube is just god tier. I talked a little bit about it. It is such a good platform for discovery, and when you start getting serious into YouTube, 30 to 40% of your Twitch audience will be from there at any given time. If I say right now how many people discovered me from YouTube in chat, like it'll just be a huge number of people. It's like words cannot describe how helpful it is to building a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something. Yeah, that's why I think a lot of our talk has been about the YouTube thing. That's
Mhm.
something I need to work on a lot.
And then the last one, and I don't think I'd recommend necessarily engaging with this, but it's what I mentioned in the first part, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has the highest potential to convert users, but also like is a very peculiar thing and like is going to take like a lot of dedicated resources to understand and learn. And for that reason, I think like I always try to recommend like maybe 1 or 2 plays, just like focus on 1 or 2 things because you have such a lot of stuff to do, right? You're already like really,
Yeah.
and so I'd say like YouTube 100%, just like, can we upload 3 videos of like the list of 5 out of that list per week? Can we set that goal?
Mhm.
If you have a little bit of extra time, focus a bit on Facebook and then don't worry about it from there. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to be doing everything. You just need to be consistent and you know, just put it out there in the room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I'm consistent on my streaming schedule
Mhm.
on Twitch, and then Joey does my YouTube, and it's consistent. But yeah, I need to put more time, I think, into that with some of these ideas you passed forward.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. And overall, it's like you have what it takes. Like you just I think part of it is this self-discovery, and I'm like really going to be curious like where that goes. And then like the tactical, which you have now, like, right. Like, and I think that combination is going to be really interesting to watch over the next like 6 months to a year to see what you do.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited.
probably not a whole lot will happen this month because we have like so much casting. But after that, actually, StarCraft dies down for like I'm going to be casting like 4 days a month for 2 to 3 months. So that's when I'm gonna hit the
You're gonna hit the gas.
Yeah, hit the gas on everything at that point.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, use me as a resource, man. Like I said, I have such a deep respect for like what you do and what you've created for esports. I think you're a huge part of what made esports what it is today, and I'm always in your camp. I want to help.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
appreciate it. You're too kind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't say that about a lot of people, but there's really been like I'd say like 3 people that really inspired me in esports, and like that was you, Nick, and Sean, for sure. And just like I was like, man, like this is something. It's funny, like the impact that you make on people that like you don't like really hear about, but it's like, man, like I'm a total nerd too that likes like RTS and like you know like really complex games and like talking about shit like fucking lore and like just like. Do you want to know like why the Zerg are so powerful and like you know like why like how they like take over entire worlds? Like I'll talk about that kind of shit, like you know like, and I'll just get into it and like to think that like there's like a possibility to build a career like that, to make something, to make like a life, and not just like a you know like a shitty life like Jurassic Park bad flute like but like a good life like you have like a lot like going on and like everything is like really exciting. Like that's so cool to imagine, and that inspired me to do what I've done so far. So you're a huge
That's
part of
sick.
that, man.
Thank you, man. This has been a wonderful talk. I've learned so much that I feel like I have to rewatch our entire talk and
I will
write
probably do the
everything
same.
down.
Yeah,
It's it's great though. Thank you
my pleasure, dude.
for taking the time.
Oh, dude, it's my honor, man. It's been an amazing talk. Thank you for being here. Let's do another one soon. Like we can do like one in some months or whatever. Like when and just like follow up on.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that because towards the end of the year, because then I will have had some time. This month, I'm being realistic. I don't think I'm going to get anything new done this in October.
Yeah.
But November and December, I'm hoping to put a lot more time into everything. So after that, maybe let's do another chat.
All right, it's a date.
Be perfect. We'll catch up, and then you can retweet and be like, "Here's where you fucked all that up."
No, dude, I'm gonna be calling your fourth secretary to try to get in.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen,
I hope
dude.
so.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, all right, I swear to God, we talked once. I swear.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Great.
Sounds good, dude. Well, this has been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the talk. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Peace.
Cheers.